Evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Lakeville Select Board meeting of Monday, July 8th to order at 5:30 p.m. LakeCAM is recording this meeting. Is anybody here recording other than LakeCAM? Brenna, are you recording?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I'm recording.
Oh, great. Well, it's nice to see so many faces here this evening. If we can, to start, I'd like to ask you all to rise for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Everybody have an enjoyable 4th of July vacation? Oh. Let's not go there right now, but really it's nice to see some faces in the audience. I know I personally haven't seen you in a while, so it's really good to see you. So with us this evening, we have Select Board Member Fabian, Select Board Member Donahue, myself, Lorraine Carboni, and Select Board Member Maureen Candido. Select Board Member Brian Day is away this week, so he sends his apologies for missing the meeting. We also have Tracy Craig McGee, who is our Executive Assistant, and Interim Town Administrator Bob Nunes. Okay, so we have a few Select Board announcements. Clear Pond is now open. Hours of operation will be 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the last day of the season will be August 25th. Season passes may be purchased by Lakeville, Middleborough, and Freetown. Daily resident passes are available to Lakeville residents only, and daily non-resident guest passes are available to guests of Lakeville residents or guests of Middleborough or Freetown season pass holders. Our Lakeville Arts Council is pleased to announce that their popular outdoor concerts will continue this year at the Townhouse Stage on July 9th, July 16th, and July 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m. And for additional information about these concerts and anything else about the Lakeville Arts Council, please visit www.lakevilleartscouncilma.org. We still have some vacancies on some of our boards, committees, and commissions, and we will have this announcement hopefully just for a few more meetings, but we do have it as a staple in here. So if you are interested, we do have some vacancies on the Cable Advisory Committee, our Cemetery Commission, the Energy Advisory Committee, our Parks Commission, and our Open Space Committee. Also, I'd like to announce that the assessors, which I'm sure you're all here for, are hosting a public meeting on July 16th, 2024 at 5 p.m. at the Lakeville Council on Aging located at 1 Deer Crossing. The meeting will include a presentation and discussion about the fiscal year 2025 preliminary tax bills. So interested taxpayers should plan to attend. If you are unable to attend the meeting, you can please contact the town's Associate Regional Assessor, David Golden, at dgolden, and we can share this on our website, at rrgsystems, and that's plural.com, to schedule a time to discuss your concerns. I do have just a quick fun fact I'd like to share with everybody. As you know, Assawamsett Pond was originally called Lake Assawamsett. It is the largest body of fresh water in the state, covering 2,220 acres. Assawamsett means the place of white stones, and there were 2 islands in the pond that were presumed to have been washed away by storms. However, in 1949, levels in the pond were so low that the islands were actually visible. I did not know that fact, so thank you for that, Tracy. Anybody else on the select board have anything they'd like to say?
I don't have an announcement, but I have a couple of questions. Same.
Sure.
So, on the season's passes for Clear Pond, seems a little confusing to me. So you can buy a season's pass if you're a Middleborough resident, a Freetown resident, and a Lakeville resident.
Yes, that is my understanding.
Okay, but you can't just come in if you're a Middleborough resident and buy a pass for a day?
That is my understanding.
Same.
Unless you have a resident of Lakeville that you're accompanying.
Okay, that was not my understanding. So I just want to mention that for next year, when we said we were opening it up to Middleborough and Freetown, I thought that anybody from Middleborough or Freetown would be able to come in and buy a pass for like the day.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
through you, I was under the same assumption because that's how I understood it when the parks came before us and asked to open it up. And then I had seen an announcement after, on their website saying different, and it was a miscommunication from them is how they put it to me when I asked, if it came out that way, but I interpreted it the same as you. But what they had said to me when I reached out to them, Mike Smith specifically, was that they couldn't support that number of people, that would come in. And I said, well, let's make sure we have another conversation about that before next year, to make sure everyone knows exactly what we're offering the people of surrounding towns and the people of Lakeville.
Yeah,
And Mike did say that they would monitor to see, how well received it.
yeah, I actually think it's
The
more
attendance was-
confusing the way it is right now, so.
I don't disagree.
And they came to us to say that, they wanted to open it up, so it just seems a little confusing to me. And I know it was confusing because I do believe it was on Lakeville, Helping Lakeville or Clear Pond or something.
I believe someone might have posted something about it too, yes.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
And you had something else, Leah?
What was the second thing you mentioned? Wasn't there?
The Arts Council,
Nope,
the vacancies?
nope. Didn't you mention something else that wasn't on the list, or did you?
Oh, I mentioned about the assessors hosting a meeting, a public meeting.
Okay. All right, I have comments on that, but I thought there was, never mind, that's okay.
Madam Chair, would we be able to take, new business out of order so we can address
Oh.
everyone's concerns here?
I
or-
remembered.
Yeah, or are we because we have the hearing?
We have the hearing this evening, but I will
So
address-
I definitely wanted us to check with LakeCAM to be sure they can record that meeting, the assessors meeting,
Oh, okay,
so that
So
if
that we
someone
have it on
can't be
record,
there,
right,
then
it'll
they
be
can
there.
watch it after the fact.
all right. Would you mind, or Tracy, just make a note and just remind me? So I understand that, most of you were here, because of the tax bills had gone out. So, the select board, we did reach out to the assessors, where it is not under our purview, but we wanted to make sure that we were able to give some public, direction, so that you can seek your answers. So the assessors usually doesn't have a meeting scheduled in July. So they are scheduling this meeting specifically, for this discussion. So I highly recommend that, if you do have questions and concerns, which I'm sure most of you do, to please attend that meeting and get the answers that you need. Okay? I just, this board is just not under our purview, but we wanted to make sure that we were able to reach out and provide that direction to all of you. So,
What was the date on that again, date and time?
absolutely. It is going to be July 16th. Does anybody know what the date?
Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday? Okay, so Tuesday, the 16th at 5 p.m. at the senior center.
So we're not gonna discuss any of the tax information today?
We are not, that's not under our purview, and I don't wanna, I don't wanna put this board in a position where, we would answer questions incorrectly, so, oh, I'm sure.
Can you answer general questions?
Really, I'm concerned that we would answer questions incorrectly. So that's why we had reached out to the assessors, because they are the ones that handle all of the tax evaluations, so Yes, Mr. Nunes?
Madam Chair, if you have any questions prior to the meeting, feel free to email me. My email address, I believe, is on the website, and I can get that to the assessor's office and they can be prepared for the meeting.
Good idea.
What is your email address, sir?
It would be rnews@lakevillemA.gov.
Madam Chair?
And it's NUNES.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you tell me how many people that are holes?
Oh, gosh, quite a few anyways.
The COA.
At least,
High school.
Yeah.
By the 16th, there's gonna probably be 1,000 people that wanna come.
yeah, I'm not
I know,
sure. I think, I wanna
myself,
say,
personally,
I wanna
I
say
know.
75 to 100 possibly.
It's not gonna be enough.
Then you
Okay, right now.
push it and just keep wasting our time.
This was a quick thing to come here tonight because we just found out, I think last night we found out about it. But now you have a week before, they better get a bigger menu than that. A lot of people are gonna be sitting outside.
Well, I'll certainly reach out to, the chair of the assessors, and raise that concern with him too. I know, most of the boards, committees and commissions want to make sure that we have a venue, especially, large enough, to accommodate those that, would be attending, if it's a, an important issue as this.
How many people own a waterfront home?
Again, I have
I
no,
believe it's around 800.
So 800, and if 2 people attend, 3
It's
people come,
probably-
1,600 people coming. So, I mean,
It's 800 people.
right, so
let
800
me tell
times
you.
2, if 2 becomes.
If you
Again-
don't go to that meeting, sorry for you, because my taxes went up $5,000.
again, I'm
Just like
going
that.
to reach out to
I'm sorry.
the, no, that's okay. We do have a large agenda this evening and we do have a hearing that is already scheduled, but I just want you to know that this board is aware of your concerns. And so we want to make sure that we give you, that outlet to get your questions answered. So, Mr. Nguyen?
The COA director just texted me and the center can hold up to 175 people.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, just throwing that out there.
But I don't think it's gonna be enough, and kinda like when we had the vote for the, Freetown Woods,
Yeah.
then the fire department's gonna say that there's not, and we have busy lives, we gotta get a second job to pay our taxes, so I think we should probably,
No,
you know,
I will
push that
absolutely,
forward if possible.
I will
understand.
absolutely mention that to him. Sure thing. Yes, Brenna? Oh,
Madam
excuse me.
Chair, I know we have a hearing at 5:45 and whatever, but, towards new business, I wouldn't mind hearing some of the questions
Same.
that people have, knowing that we may not be able to provide answers, but I still wouldn't mind knowing the questions. That way we can pass those on to the assessors so that they'll have answers for next week, so, but we have a whole agenda to get through.
No, I know,
We
I
can
know.
wait.
We absolutely do.
Can I ask one question to the crowd though? Is anybody here from Assawamsett Pond? And did their taxes go up as well? Or is it just us from London?
Oh, no.
I have talked to, Madam Chair, through you, I have talked to one resident who said they also saw
Significant or slightly?
a significant increase.
Okay.
Yeah, but I haven't seen their tax bill, so.
Okay.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I appreciate you, presenting the reality of your authority and power. Do you all do Zooms anymore? I mean, because it might also be a suggestion that that one of the meetings would be a Zoom call or something, so that other people who are not able to get there. You can be there in person, but
That's
there are
true.
people who can't, and I think it's sometimes, I know you record, but
Right.
if that's a possibility, I would just ask that also.
All right, well, that's something we can certainly, make mention
Yeah,
of
and I'm
that
not saying
too.
that we're
It wouldn't-
just and never there, but.
Right, it wouldn't be a participatory, situation when we did virtual meetings in that
Yes.
respect, but at least it gave people an opportunity to, listen in.
Yeah, and I can send that in as a question if you'd like.
Oh, that would be a very good question, thank you.
Mr. Nunes, what was your email address?
rnews@lakevillemA.gov.
No, .org.
.org, I'm sorry.
.org.
Sorry. Thank you, Tracy. I don't email myself, so.
All right. One second. I just wanted to look at my, the new business listing, hold on. Cause I know we had a list on there, right?
Not for new, but old.
Yeah, I think we had a list for old.
Assessor's board is here, like,
Correct.
we got
Let's
a
believe that
note
they were.
today saying someone from the assessor's board would be here. Someone's asked from your board.
Madam Chair, I posted that we have asked them to be able to attend.
Okay.
But the chair of the assessors is chairing another meeting at the exact same time, so
Okay.
we couldn't make that work. But yes, the invite was there and the conversation has happened, that we are looking for answers to give the public and to make sure that we've dotted all our i's and crossed our t's after the horses left the barn.
Yes. So please get your questions and your concerns in ahead of time. I'm sure that they'll put a list. I know the chair is very good about, you know, making points so that they can, respond to some of those concerns. And get your questions down so that you can get your answers.
I
Yes.
just want to ask, can the Board of Assessors do anything to stress to them that it will not be enough room for all of us, and I feel that we should all be able to attend?
Yes, the venue, I will absolutely make mention of that
Thank you.
this evening. I'll be talking to him in the morning.
Thank you.
Did you have something else, Leanne?
No, I think doesn't the library hold a few more, but we'd have to check scheduling and everything, but.
Library. So they'll, I'm sure they'll figure it out. Brenda, did you have anything? No, you're good? We're good? Folks, again, I'm very sorry, but you are, if you've never been to a select board meeting before, because you might be tuning in on, you know, the channel LakeCAM, you're more than welcome to stay tonight. This might be an opportunity to kind of learn a little bit more about what we do here, if you're interested, so. But I'm not gonna, my feelings won't be hurt, and I don't think anybody else's if you wanted to depart, so. But thank you, I'm glad you came out.
Thank you.
Okay,
Madam Chair?
yeah.
We are talking about two things with the wage and personnel board, and I didn't see that we opened, don't we usually open the wage and personnel, or isn't that posted? Like, as part of the header?
I believe it's posted, but I'm not sure that it was this evening.
Yes,
What are
please.
you talking about? The wage and personnel
Whenever we
board.
do a wage and personnel issue, we usually have wage and personnel posted. So, yeah, I just noticed that we didn't have that, so,
All right, I'm not sure if that's gonna be a concern, but,
okay.
Mr. Nunes, do you have any, thing you'd like to add to your report?
Just that, over the last several weeks, the HR director and I have been meeting with the 5 department heads.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, folks. I know we've got a lot going on, but we still have to do a meeting. And I don't mean that
Excuse me.
disrespectfully, it's
Yeah.
just it picks up on the microphones.
The HR director and I have been meeting with the 5 department heads who will be having a contract. So we are in those discussions, and most likely at a meeting in August, we'll bring those contracts forward.
Okay, excellent.
That's all I have.
Anybody have questions for Mr. Nunes?
I did.
We really can't hear.
The microphones pick up for, the
LakeCAM.
recording. We're, at some point, we have to work on the audio here, so, I know my voice is really loud, so everybody else, we're just gonna have to speak up a notch too, so you can hear. Thank you, I'm glad you said something.
So, yes, through you, Madam Chair, on the list, Bob, it says meetings with town personnel, non-department heads.
Yes,
Is that where,
with town, you know, if a town employee, a clerk, or someone wanted to come in and talk to me and meet with me,
okay,
that would fall into that category.
okay, but not any one particular thing going on or?
No.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if it had to do
No.
with the new cards
No,
or
no,
the
no.
getting in and out of the
No,
building
no, no, no,
or?
no, no,
Okay,
no.
all right, okay, thanks.
Yep.
No, and I definitely appreciate the report. One thing before we get into our hearing, we've got one set of minutes in front of us. Everybody have a chance to review them. May 13th, 2024. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion about the minutes? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Fabian, I.
Donahue, aye.
Carboni, aye.
Candido, I.
Excellent. Okay, we're a little bit late, so thank you, for your patience, for those that are here for the hearing. We've received, a formal, complaint against a dog owned by, a resident in town, and this is what this board does. This is one of our, areas of oversight. So I'd like to, begin by reading, Tracy, you did a good job of putting this in here. Reading the letter sent to the dog owners, and then opening the hearing. So the first letter that had gone out, was on June 18th, 2024. To the resident, Roseanne Pitsley at 3 Old County Road, in Lakeville. On June 3rd, a complaint of a vicious barking and nuisance dog was filed with the select board by Michelle McEachran against a dog allegedly owned or harbored by you. A copy of the complaint, it was enclosed. Therefore, pursuant to Chapter 140, Section 157 of the General Laws, the board will conduct a public hearing on the complaint at the Lakeville Police Station room at 323 Bedford Street in Lakeville, Mass. The first meeting was scheduled for 5:45 p.m. on Monday, June 24th, and it had been rescheduled to this evening, which is July 8th, 2024. You should be present for this hearing, where you will be given the opportunity to address the board and to present other witnesses on your behalf. So please, reach out to our office to confirm your attendance, which I'm assuming that, you have. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact the office. From there, I'd like to just read, our general law of Massachusetts, Chapter 140, Section 157, and it's just summarized here. So if any person shall make complaint in writing to the selectmen, in this case, select board, concerning any barking or vicious dog, we are charged with the responsibility of handling such complaints at a public hearing. After investigation of such complaints, including examination under oath of the complainant, we may make an order concerning said dog. The keeper of any such dog may, within 10 days after the hearing, petition the district court for review. Any person failing to comply with an order issued here tonight could be punished by a fine or imprisonment. From here, I need to swear in any witnesses. So anybody that will be speaking, regarding this hearing, if you wouldn't mind, just raise your hand and just state your name, and I will do the, swearing in by everybody. If we can.
I'm Roseanne Pitsley.
Okay, will you be, oh, not yet, you can, and you are you gonna be speaking as well?
Yes, Joe Pitsley.
Okay, okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't get these two gentlemen's names. And
John Picanza,
how do you spell that?
JOHNPICANZ.
Thank you.
Okay, and if you can just raise your hand, swear to tell the whole truth, the whole truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so the process of a hearing, and again, this is my first, so bear with me. Any of the speakers need to be recognized through the chair, which would be myself, before speaking. All comments are to be addressed through the chair. I am going to read the complaint, and then we'll be able to discuss the issue concern in front of us. So the complaint that was filed on May 31st, 2024. I hereby make complaint hereon that a dog or dogs owned by or harbored by Roseanne Pitsley at 3 Old County Road, residing in my vicinity or on or near 99 County Street, is a nuisance by reason of vicious disposition. On Memorial Day morning, May 27th, 2024, my family woke up to find that our coop had been broken into and 3 of our rabbits were killed by a dog owned by a neighbor, owned by our neighbors. This dog has gotten loose many times previously and had been clawing at my coop multiple times before. I did not expect the dog would or could break through the door to my coop, but it did. As I picked up the bodies of my dead rabbits, the dog returned again that morning, and I fear that this will continue to happen unless something is done about the dog. My understanding is that there was a police report on record as well. Excuse me. And I will read that summation here. On Monday, May 27th, 2024 at 7:55 a.m., I, Officer Adam Swift, was dispatched to 3 Old County Road for the report of a neighborhood dispute. Officer Mello and Officer Makowitz arrived on scene with me. The dispute was over a dog that had gotten loose. The dog had entered the property of 97 County Road and broke the door on the chicken coop, where it got a hold of 2 pet rabbits that were kept in the chicken coop and killed them. The dog belongs to Joe Duncan Pitsley, who resides at 3 Old County, and Duncan Pitsley explained that the dog had broke the lead that it was kept on and had escaped the yard. At some point, the neighbor from 99 County Road got involved in trying to track down the dog and ended up having words with Duncan Pitsley and his grandmother regarding the dog being loose. Avila, I believe that's how it's pronounced, was carrying a baseball bat while looking for the dog, and Duncan Pitsley stated that he felt threatened as Avila was armed with a bat. When Avila was asked about the bat, he explained that this was for the dog in case it tried to attack him while he was trying to catch it. The ACO was notified and responded to the scene. So our animal control officer, David Freites, was there as well. The owner of the rabbits, Michelle McEachran, was upset due to the loss of her rabbits and the damage caused to the coop. Duncan Pitsley sent money to McEachran via Venmo for the damage to the coop. The dog was secured by Duncan Pitsley inside the home, and Avila was advised about his use of a bat and his exchange of words with Pitsley. All parties were advised to call if there were any incidents. And that's what I have here. So I guess, Michelle, you had scheduled this hearing. If you wouldn't mind, come on up. And if you wouldn't mind,
a little bit of that summary was a little off. It was 99 county, not 97, and 3 of my rabbits, not 2, were killed. I woke up to Cliff telling me, your rabbits are dead, they're dead. And I went outside, was picking up the rabbits. My chickens were all out over the yard because the door was broken. The dog came back, and I thought it was going to be a massacre. I was yelling to my son, Johnny, grab the chickens, don't let him get the chickens. And he just kind of took off after the dog, and Cliff was trying to go after the dog too. I would have gone after the dog if I had the opportunity at that point. I mean, if you look at Mass state law, it says if a dog attacks livestock, you have the right to kill it. I was glad that David Freites showed up and the officers. The $50 was for the broken door. They said, the officer had asked me, they'll buy you new rabbits. And I said, I don't want new rabbits. You can't put a price on something that you've taken care of for a number of years that holds a certain sentimental value to you. And I didn't want new rabbits. I just wanted my rabbits back. At first, the officers were assuring me that they were going to take the dog and they were going to hold it. And I had said to them, please let me know once you catch it, because it had been on the loose since the night before. And my son and my boyfriend had both been trying to catch it. And they had just, I guess, gone to bed and let the dog continue to roam. It had been at my coop a couple times. I did find a Facebook post prior where, I was surprised that he wasn't aware of, maybe it was someone else working at the time, but they did tag him in the post saying, you know, the dog is loose. And the dog had been at my coop at least 3 times before. And I didn't think it must have pounced against the door to break the frame, the wooden frame on the screen door to it. And so, for me right now, because they never took the dog, because once they gained control of the dog, they brought it inside, and I was told that they were not able to take the dog from them at that point. So I felt failed. At that point, I had lost 3 of my pets. They were gone, and they had theirs with them, and it was the one that had just killed mine. And I'd like something put in place, because sure enough, the Friday following, that dog was out again. And I did call the police department twice that evening. I didn't see anybody show up. I also spent my Memorial Day fully fencing in my yard. It was 3/4 of the way fenced, but I had to add, I had to lower a gate that the dog had gone under in the back, because it's kind of higher elevation in the back of my yard. So I had it a little raised off the ground so the dog could go under it. It was about 2 feet, 2.5 feet off the ground, so it was going under it. So I lowered the gate and I fully fenced off to my house, the front fence. So that's how I spent my Memorial Day. And I feel as though, like, I'm afraid to let my chickens out, because, I mean, it's a big dog. It's a husky, but it almost looks like a Great Dane. It almost looks like a albino Great Dane. That's not a Great Dane, German Shepherd, sorry. Because it's tall. It's a tall, all white husky. And I'm just afraid if it's left out all night again, it could jump the fence in the front of the yard. And I'd like to put some protections in place. You know, if I had to fence my yard, I don't see why they can't have to fence their yard, because they do have some fence already there. And I think there should be like a, you know, sort of a stipulated, if this happens again, X, and then Y.
Just as a point of order, Tracy, I neglected to state that at 5:50 p.m. this hearing was open. I made a note of it but I've neglected to say it, so thank you, Michelle.
And, the other thing, I did bring proof of the neutered for 2 of the rabbits. I did have them neutered, so that's an expense, obviously, associated with 2 of them.
Okay. Before we hear from Ms. Pitsley, does anybody have any questions for Michelle while she's here?
I want to express my sympathies. I lost a pet to a dog, Lousy. How long had you had them?
So we call her Mama Bunny. We had her for about 6 years, and I rescued Papa Bunny. We used to call him Meat Bunny because he was going to be a meat bunny, and I had rescued him. I begged to save him, and I was able, as a Christmas present, I was able to save him. And then we found out quickly he was a boy, and they had bunnies. And I don't know if you went to the CPA event back in 22, but I had brought the bunnies when they were babies, and Junior was one of the ones there. So I had raised him from a baby.
I see a photo with 4 bunnies here. 3 of them were killed, so you have 1 left.
So 1 of the females, and then I did have 2 boys that are separate. So I had 6, and now I'm down to 3.
Okay, thank you.
Leah, Maureen, any questions?
No, I just echo the sentiments. I'm sorry you guys are all going through this. I know what it's like to be on actual both sides of this, so I have sympathy for everyone here.
Leah?
No, just, you know, these things are never pleasant for anybody, so, I do feel bad for the bunnies though.
She was a good mama. She was so cute.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Pitsley? Yes, please, take a seat.
Hi, I am Joe Pitsley. I rescued Cody from the Fairhaven Animal Shelter, where he's been 4 times. He is a Siberian Husky, average size, 60 pounds, not a Great Dane. He is a good boy. He's very playful. He has only been in their yard one time, and it was that time. I think he probably jumped a gate, didn't go over it, because he's a Siberian Husky. Cody apparently went in, ruined their chicken coop, apparently got to these rabbits. I compensated them. Cliff here showed up to my house with a baseball bat, not trying to catch my dog. He's not vicious. If he was vicious, he would have attacked Cliff with the baseball bat. And when he came back to their yard, he would have attacked the chickens that were out. He's not a vicious dog. He's been in several shelters, and if they found him to be vicious, I believe they probably would have put him down. I have since got him licensed and vaccinated, you know, all the stuff here. I can show that. Cody was not out again on Friday. If she had called the police and he was out, they would have showed up and responded, and there would be notes on that. That did not happen. He has not been loose since, and he won't be. You know, the time that she's referring to was posted on Facebook when we first got him. He did get loose, and he went over to a neighbor's yard that had 2 dogs where they played for an hour before they got a hold of me, and I went and got him. So he didn't attack any of those dogs. He's not vicious. I wish I could have brought him here tonight, and I will at the next one if that's an option. I don't really, you know, I gave my condolences to them for their pet. I compensated them. I offered to compensate them. I understand it's a pet. There's sentimental value to it. But he was willing to kill the dog. So, you know, I can't understand how that would have been justified. You know, if your pet is dead, you don't kill somebody else's pet to get back at it. If you're sad over a rabbit being killed, I think you'd be sad over a dog. I don't know. I don't have much more to present. Cody's not vicious. I wish I could show you guys his demeanor. She didn't mention anything about him barking or being vicious previous to this event. So there's no, in my opinion, substantial evidence to say that he is vicious in any way. And again, he's been to Fairhaven Animal Shelter quite a few times, and I have found out since reaching out to them that it's because he is an escape artist, like any other Siberian Husky. And he's very fast, but he has not gotten out since. We're looking into electric collars that would work for his breed, but he's not vicious. He's very, very sweet and gentle. And unfortunately, that's an instinctual thing. You know, it's a rabbit. He has never been aggressive to a human or, you know, and he's good with other animals. I think that, you know, it's an unfortunate event, but he's not an aggressive dog. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mary.
And Chair, through you. So he's in several shelters for escaping before.
Yeah,
There's been no other incidences of him getting
never.
out and
Nope.
harming
And
people's domestic pets.
nope. Even through the other homes that he has been in, nobody brought him back for anything like that. He's a high energy dog. He requires a lot of attention. So.
Okay, and he was not licensed, is what you had just said?
He was previously licensed to somebody else, but I don't know that person, and the shelter won't give me that information.
Okay, so, but when you had him,
I just got him within 3 months. And it wasn't through the shelter, unfortunately. He was left in a home that was sold, and it was like he needed a home quick, that kind of thing.
And he is now licensed here in
Yes.
Lakeville.
And I have that license number somewhere here.
that's okay, I just want to clarify.
Madam,
Chair, I did confirm with the town clerk, he is licensed.
Yes,
Thank you.
2551.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
to Maureen's point, can you narrow it down when you got him? Do you remember May, April?
I could probably look through my photos, my first photo of him. This photo here. Where's the date? Sorry, 1 second. January.
January. Madam Chair, through you. Mr. Freites, how long does a resident?
I was gonna invite Mr. Freites up.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna
I just
ask.
wanted to see if there was, an opportunity to, you know, for you to ask any questions,
Sure.
of Mr. Pitzley before I invited Dave up.
Please invite away.
Dave, would you mind? Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Good evening, David.
Good evening.
All right, please.
My question, I think, is the same as Leah's. How long, does a resident have before they, have to license a dog when they get a new dog?
Probably a month. If the dog's licensed already in another town, that license is good until it runs out.
Got it.
So as the animal control officer, I'm sure you have had many instances where you've attended hearings to speak on behalf of the situation. Can you explain to us a little bit about what you had experienced while you were called to?
I responded, and the police were already there. I went to Mrs. Pitzley's house first, and the dog was in a carrier inside the house. He was already contained, which I think the police didn't give her the right answer to Mrs. McCacken. If a dog's in a house, we can't take him out unless we get a warrant. I mean, we can't go in and bust down the door or... Even on a first offense, we have to, if a dog's in the house, we have to post it. But they were home, so we didn't have to.
Okay.
And then I went over and I didn't see the rabbits. I think they were already buried. But I did see the damage to the coop. It was damaged.
And what is typically the response in a situation like this, where this is falls under more of a, is it livestock
It's a
situation, or?
It's a livestock. He made, he did restitution. I know they're more like pets anyhow, but that's what the law says, they're livestock. This was the first offense. I've never been there before. I've never got any calls. I don't know if nobody that works for me got any calls, so technically it's the first offense to us.
Okay. Anybody?
One question for you, Madam Chair. What is your recommendation usually for this type of offense? Is it to get a secured fence for the dog?
They have a kennel down in the back. I don't know if they're using it now or not. You are using it? Cause I stopped and checked it. I stopped to check it out and stuff. Mrs. Pitzley had showed it to me the first time I went over. And then I went back. I talked to their brother to see if the dog was licensed. I told him to make sure it was licensed. And I talked to Mr. Pitzley's brother, and he said he would relay the message because they were working.
Okay, anything else for you, Brennan?
Yeah, what's next like this, or is anybody coming back up, or is this just comments on it?
No, I have to close the hearing, but I wanted to see if you had any other questions for the witnesses before we.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, then I'm good, but I do have more comments.
Okay. Leah, did you have anything else for David or Michelle or Mrs. Pitzley?
So, well, it looks like Mrs. Pitzley wants to say something.
Would you like?
I haven't had a chance.
Yes, no, please.
First of all, my dog didn't even have any blood on him, so I don't have any proof the rabbits were killed by my dog. And I never saw the rabbits, he never saw the rabbits. So, you know, and then Mr. Avila came with his steel bat, and he did threaten me, and he called me names, and I was gonna get the bat if it happened again, okay? I'm a senior, I could press charges, I didn't, but I will if he comes in my yard again. And secondly, he went into the woods while the police was there, and I even told them, trying to get my dog into the woods to kill him with the bat. That's against law. I don't care who you are. That's against law. I know Lakeville's taking people to court for killing a dog for killing his chickens and stuff, okay? And he was gonna kill my dog with a bat, and that's the only time my dog barked was when he saw Cliffy standing there, trying to get him in the woods to hit him. He told me he was gonna kill him, and he snuck into the woods. I watched him. I told the police, but they said that wasn't to do with them, only if I could have pressed charges on Cliffy, which I should have. But they said, all we want is $50. And I said, well, they're neighbors, so we won't cause trouble. And we give him the $50, and I never pressed charges. But he did threaten me, and I will not stand for it again. And he did try to kill my dog, and I have no proof that my dog killed the rabbits because where were they? Where were they?
Man.
Yes, did you?
So have you had issues before, or is this the first issue?
This is the first time.
Okay. Can I say a couple things without
Sure you
sounding
can,
judgmental?
as long as you
Okay.
don't mind my answer.
Not at all. I appreciate it. Typically, when dogs of that size kill an animal, there is no blood because they break their bones. So you can break a neck, you can break a back, and the bunnies can die from fright. So you're right. He may not have bit one of the bunnies, but he still killed it because he's scared.
Even if he did, it was probably to play with it.
And of course, it's not
vicious.
appropriate to come. Well, I don't think he's going to play with it. I don't think it's appropriate to come threaten you with a bat either. But I also understand where he's coming from, and I also think that there's a little bit of a sense of cavalierness about it. This dog has been returned to the shelter 4 times for being an escape artist, and Siberian Huskies have an extremely high prey drive. That's one of their
know
things,
that.
right? So,
And I was apologizing to this man when he took a bat up to me.
of course,
Okay.
and that is never appropriate. But there needs to be an understanding here that this dog is known to escape and has a high prey drive. So it may be her rabbits today, it could be the chickens down the street tomorrow, it could be the cat across the street the next day. Just
He lives
because,
with a cat and does not touch it.
but
okay?
that's part of his pack. My point is, just because this isn't an instance where the chickens or the rabbits went into the dog's yard and the dog
No, the
killed
dog
them.
went into it.
The dog went into his. So I think there needs to be a little more responsibility taken. I think maybe invest in a muzzle. It takes about 3 to 6 months for a dog that's adopted to settle into their new home, and he's going to continue trying to escape. So if we don't want to be here and you don't want to lose the dog, I recommend getting a muzzle. I recommend getting some training and starting to actually show some, maybe not remorse, but at least some responsibility for the action.
It was.
Through, excuse me, through the chair, please. I just want to make sure that we maintain order and that,
Yeah, no.
Absolutely.
Can I speak?
yes.
Perfect. The only reason she's feeling this way is because we thought this was settled as neighbors. We gave her the $50. We offered to do whatever we could for her. And the police told us, perfect, we talked to them, it's done. And then we got a notice. So this is the reason she's fired up. We've lived here for years and years. We've never had any trouble like this. So she's maybe coming off not remorseful to the rabbit, but that narrative is incorrect. That's incorrect.
Truthfully, I was referring to you.
Well,
you were
also-
a bit flippant with it, and hold on a second. I understand. I have 2 dogs. I adopted them.
Sure.
I get it. But I think it's important to understand that this isn't a problem they have with you, because that's why I asked that first question.
And
It's a
that was
problem
answered
with the dog.
incorrectly because there is a past where he has had a past with her kids, and there is a long history there. There's never been any issue with dogs, but there is a long history. He's been our neighbor for a long time.
Yeah.
So him and her deceased husband never got along. So it's been messy.
I want to keep this conversation with what we're here for.
Well, I want to fix the narrative.
And I understand that there's, potential, there's always, you know.
Our dog now does not go out unless we have him on a leash.
Very
And if
good.
he stays out, he's in that kennel.
That's 8 feet high.
And he doesn't even, for some reason, I don't know, maybe he got scared with everything that happened, but he hasn't even tried to get out of the house.
He is not, and the dog is
In
not
common.
aggressive. He lives with a cat. He lived with another dog that just passed away, small children. It was just an instinctual thing, which I understand that you get.
Yes.
And I
But that
apologize,
narrative makes
I've
it
owned
sound
rabbits.
Well, it's not necessarily bad. It's just something that is like living with a cat.
Okay.
Living with a cat. He's part of the dog's pack.
Right.
That's why he's okay with it. But the dog is a known escape artist.
Yeah.
You've only had it 3 months.
And he's escaped before and never harmed another animal. He's been with other animals. I explained the
Regardless.
situation where he went to the neighbor's house.
Yes.
And he was with their small dogs, didn't attack them, doesn't know them, he played with them.
And we didn't
He's not
know
a vicious dog.
All I'm saying is that if this is repeated, the outcome will be different.
Sure, if it is repeated, I can
And
swallow that.
I'm all set now, Chair.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, it won't, we'll have him put down if it happens again.
Okay.
Madam Chair, through you, I had a question for
Yes.
Ms. McEachran. When Ms. Pitsley was saying that everything was resolved, was the reason you came back because you saw the dog loose again? Or was it just not resolved in what you
No,
had-
so David and I had discussed the next steps, and he said, you know, you can file
Got it.
for this hearing.
I
So
couldn't
did
file, I
that.
can't file nothing because I'm just a middle, guy in the middle. But she seemed concerned, so I told her that she could do what she wanted.
Okay.
It was up to her.
So, my boyfriend, he does have text to David. David, he'd sent him the pictures, so he had his cell phone number, and he did text him that Friday, so he could send a screenshot of that when he texted him saying the dog's loose again.
But he wasn't, I'm sorry, but he hasn't been
It was,
loose
I
since
saw
this
the dog,
happened.
it was in my front.
Through here,
I'm sorry,
please.
Madam Chair. The dog was in my side yard, next to my driveway where it's not fenced in. And somebody was over there trying to get him over there. I don't know, there's a lot of people that live in that area. I'm not sure who it was that was chasing after the dog, but somebody was chasing it in my side yard.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Couple questions. So on the police report, it says 97 County Road.
So that is Cliff's address. Mine is 99. County Street.
Okay, so I just want to get this straight. So when this first started, I thought you lived in the same house, so.
His address is 97, mine is 99. We've been dating for quite a while, so he stays at my house
Okay,
as well.
but we're talking the actual incident with the,
Address is 99 County.
and that's where it happened?
Yes.
That's where the bunnies were?
So Mama Bunny was actually brought to, his mother's garden in 97 County, so.
Okay. So you both have houses right next to each other, but the cage and the coop is at, yours at 99?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can also tell there's definitely a relationship because Mrs. Pitsley is calling him Cliffy, which is usually.
Cause I've known him since he was born.
Okay, all right, so there's definite history here, okay. And then the other correction to the police report was that it was 3,
3 rabbits,
not 2.
not 2. And I did tell them 3. I don't know why I
Okay.
did put 2.
Okay, all right, okay. Now, where do you folks live?
We live at 3 Old County Road. We
It's a
live in the
side street
back.
that goes up behind.
It goes
our
behind
house.
your
Yeah.
house.
My
So
house
there-
is at
there's
the
three.
green.
Yep.
So they're behind it.
Because I do know where Michelle's house is, so.
I'm right,
yours
I'm
is
behind it almost.
behind that, okay, okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
We have him leashed up as much as, you know, he has it.
All right, I'm gonna close this hearing, at 6:23 PM. I guess we'll do it formally. Do I have a motion?
Motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All right. And a second, any discussion? I mean, we will be discussing this after we close this.
No discussion
All
on
right.
the hearing for me.
And may I have a roll call, please?
Fabian, I.
Donahue, aye.
Carboni, aye.
Tito, I.
All right, so the hearing is closed. So thank you very much for, sharing your experiences with this. David, you don't go anywhere because
No.
we might have some questions for you. So at this point, the board can discuss, how they would like to respond, to this complaint. So, I will open this up for discussion.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I could. My suggestion, and it will largely depend on if, Dave Reitz agrees with me, is, that if the dog is loose or found loose again, there will be another offense and, the dog would be evaluated for
Right.
viciousness, I believe, or, I forgot what the terminology was, but.
Yeah, he would be, yeah, I don't know that.
It's
Disposition was the term that was used.
Evaluated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just say evaluated. But in the meantime, my expectation is that they will provide a secure as possible environment, for the
Okay.
dog and to be hyper vigilant.
The kennel is really, a good kennel. I'll go there tomorrow too if you want, and I'll check it again.
Yeah. Do you think in your estimation, and I guess this would be a question for them, do they let them out on the leash still? Is the kennel just the overnight solution or the long
I think they
term?
keep them in the house at night.
Okay.
Well, I would just, that's what I assumed when I went there that day.
He lives inside with us and he goes in the kennel just to spend time outside.
Okay.
He had a lead, you know, like a runner, and it broke.
Understood,
Yeah.
understood.
You can't-
So-
But my problem isn't that, like, he did it once, which is a horrible thing.
can't be
I just
tethered
don't
out
want him,
anyhow.
obviously, doing it again.
You can't be tethered anyhow because it's against the law in Massachusetts to tether a dog. It's either be in
Really?
What?
Really?
Yeah. Dog has to be on a runner
Oh, it's a-
or it
In a
has
kennel,
to be
right?
in a kennel.
Oh,
It can't be
okay.
on a stationary chain.
Got it.
Got it.
Yeah, I see. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, but those are my only two comments, that would be the
I know it's closed,
expectation.
but, like, would I be able to, can I say something?
Come on up,
Am I too
sure.
late for this? Alright. Listen, I'm sorry I'm getting some kind of a mess, it's been a busy day for me, but there are bits and pieces left out that I could add in. Just two things I wanna say is I buried the rabbits, I picked them up and brought them over. Previous night, I saw the husky, it was 100% trying to get in that coop, and I already knew it. And I got up at midnight, looked out there, and I got up in the morning, he woke me up, we went out, looked for the dog. The dog is skittish, he doesn't seem like he would attack a human, obviously. And the previous night, actually, maybe not them, but there's a bunch of people that live out there, and they were trying to catch a dog, and they could not catch it for a long time. Very skittish dog, obviously. Cliff said some dumb things that he shouldn't have said, but he would never, I've seen him at his worst, he would never hurt anyone. Even from the things that he said, he was never intending to hurt anyone. He would definitely hurt the dog. I had a lot of respect for him from the way he reacted to it. But there is more to this besides the dog. If it wasn't them, listen, I live in the back room of my house. When my window's open, I can hear everything that's going on behind my house over there. There's two houses, they're in cahoots together. I'm not saying necessarily them. I'm not trying to point anyone or throw anyone in the bus. There's a lot of stuff that goes on back there, and the house is a mess, and it's
Listen,
just...
this has to be about this,
Just-
the hearing, so I know you'll have your own opinion about, you know, your visual, but this has to be about the incident, so,
Madam
not that
Chair.
I'm,
Where do you live?
I live with my mom, but I live in the
Oh, okay,
back.
so Michelle's your mom.
This is my
Yes.
oldest.
Okay, all right, so you're at the 99
And I
location.
live in the back room, and my window is right up against the fence that they are,
Of one old county road, no.
right. But
That's
you
the
guys,
neighbors.
you guys are
No.
constantly in cahoots together, right?
No.
all right.
All right, whatever.
We're just trying to keep
But
this
anyways.
focused, because we'd like to try to, you know, at least, you know, render, a response, you know, to the incident. I think that, you know, from what I'm hearing, I think, you know, any of these things are definitely not something pleasant for us to have to respond, but, you know, these things do happen. It's unfortunate, and people are given an opportunity or a venue in which they can, voice their concerns and, their feelings on this, so,
I'm
So-
sorry for that,
Yeah,
I misunderstood that. All I'm gonna say is that this is more than just a dog incident, it's more of them having to grow up and do something. Other than that, we killed the dog's dead, it wasn't the dog's fault. And
okay, so,
Madam Chair, just quickly, I know it must be very sad, like, that you found them like that, so I do feel bad.
it
But-
is what it is.
Yeah, but we're gonna try to find a solution that's as equitable as we can in a situation that it has no good solutions that we can apply to it. We can just try to make sure it doesn't happen again, or we can try to do our best to just ensure, you know, a harmonious way forward, and then all abide by the same set of rules.
And I appreciate that. And all I wanna say is, God bless you, but please, come
I
on.
apologize about your rabbits. I know how it
It's-
feels.
it's
I've
more
had
than the
rabbits
rabbits.
that
I'm
don't
sorry.
find me too. And that's all I tried to do is apologize.
okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
I know it was, I commend you for coming up, thank you.
So, I do have, some concerns now. I know that Dave said that once there's a license in place, it lasts whatever. I don't know if, Joe knew that or not, but, as I try to be as responsible as possible with my dogs, and, I would have rushed to get the dog licensed. So I do appreciate that, the dog is licensed now. But, we need to keep that going. So we,
Oh, of course, I have
yeah,
all the
we don't,
licensing information here. I had to get information, which
Yep.
wasn't easy to obtain. They don't wanna give you information on
Right.
anybody.
I'm with you.
So it was tough.
We've been an adoption family,
Yeah.
my husband and I, since we had our first dog way before you were born.
Yeah,
So,
So it did take some time to gather that information.
Yep.
I had to also find out where he came from, which I did just by Facebook photos and everything, so
Yeah.
that did take some time.
Yeah, so you would encourage you to, not be the last one down like some folks to get their dog licensed, but to be the first.
Sure.
Because
You'll see
it
me there.
does show, right, it
Yeah.
does show a track record of responsibility.
Of course.
And you know what, I'm not picking on you, you're
No.
just young, maybe, some of the old person advice can make it to you. I also see a situation here where, folks have been neighbors for a long time, and it seems like, things haven't always been great, but somehow you've all found a way to, to get along. However, this has been escalated now, and unfortunately for us, if there is a second offense, and I think either Maureen said it or I think Maureen, you said it, we don't have a choice after this.
Sure.
So, we.
I can understand that. I
Yeah.
understand that there's a process.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's no problem with
And,
that.
unfortunately for me, I have had to order a dog, it involved a person bite, and, Dave had to listen to me cry for a few days because I knew the decision that I had to make. So it's not pleasant for us to have to enforce the rules either, but we sign up for it.
Sure.
And, but I just, I feel like,
I do totally understand that there is a process and we have to respect that process.
Right.
He even pointed out that the dog's not vicious. It
Yeah,
won't happen
right.
again, so
Yep,
I
yep.
as well.
Okay, and that's, that's what we're hoping, but I do have to say that, any story that involves a bat makes me a little nervous
Me too.
too. So, and again, I've lost my dogs, they've run away, I've been panic stricken. I know that, I've had one that got hit in the street, and we're not always doing our best thinking, but again, now that there's police reports and everything involved, we all just need to put our best step forward. My only other question is, I'm not clear on what Michelle is looking for here. Is it just to get it on the record in case there's another incident? Are you looking for any other reimbursement to try to replace your, the bunnies, which I know is difficult? You don't,
So, back up, but, I guess reimbursement for the neutering, because that wasn't expensive for a rabbit, 2 of them. And, like I said, something put in place. I think, Brenna hit it on the head, training. Maybe have to take the dog for training, because the dog does run. Like, it doesn't go to, when it's out loose, it doesn't just go home. It just keeps running. So, and then, when it's been out again, I've heard them yell as that's in other neighbors' yards, "Oh, he's friendly, he's friendly." But really, they should be saying, watch out for your small pets, because it's gonna be somebody else's chickens or cats. There's cats missing from School Street, who knows? So I would like to just have something put in place if it happens again.
So I don't wanna, speculate about anything that, you know, may happen, but what we have in front of us, you have a report on file.
Mhm.
It is, we've heard the hearing, you've said your piece, I know you have, made some, you know, financial retribution here.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're gonna do what you're gonna do to make sure that your dog's gonna stay in. If it gets out, if another incident, I'm hoping that it doesn't happen,
We'll be back here.
but you will be back here. I'm very sorry that your family experienced this. I know I know, it's terrible. Dave, what
Well,
would
she
you
asked,
like to
when you
comment?
asked about, if there was any more reimbursement, that's a civil matter.
Okay, okay, all right. So as far as, this board, I'm not sure that we have much to, you know,
Madam Chair, as far as the recommendation, I would vote to see if, Dave Freites feels that the structure in place and the plan in place is adequate to contain the dog at this time. That would be, if we had a vote or a recommendation to make, that's.
well, if you would like to make that motion, then
I
we'll
would-
entertain it.
I would like to make the motion, on the recommendation of, Officer Dave Freites, that, if the conditions are adequate, in order to keep the dogs from straying, that we,
The kennel it was a good kennel, but there's nothing that's foolproof.
no, but,
It's like electric fences, lights go out.
no, but if it's sufficient enough, to contain the
I'll go
dog
back there tomorrow
in a
and look at
safe
it
way.
again.
Okay, in a safe way, then I recommend that, we close this hearing with that recommendation, and
I gotta ask Mrs.
I second that.
All right.
And the only other thing, for discussion when you're ready.
Yeah, motion, second discussion.
This isn't part of the motion, but I, as a young dog owner, thought I knew it all. Again, being very seasoned, I've started the last 2 dogs we had with taking them to training because I learned a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not asking that to be
No,
part of the
no.
motion, but, you know, the more we learn, the better I think it is for everybody. And again, you're a young guy, and, you know, laying a path of responsibility can only benefit you, you know, going forward, so.
Any other discussion?
no, I think I'm good.
I'll be honest, I'm not optimistic, and I'm not trying to be negative. I don't like to be a negative person, but I'm not optimistic. I have adopted 2 dogs. One of them was Summer. She was an Australian Shepherd. That's what they told me. She was blind and deaf, partially blind, partially deaf, and she's mixed with a leopard hound, which are extremely stubborn, not the dog I was looking for. I adopted a second dog to protect us when we walk. Thought he was a German Shepherd. He's a mini Australian Shepherd, 30 pounds, stopped growing. Again, an adjustment. Siberian Huskies are fond of cold weather, not hot weather. They have an extremely high prey drive. Even if they don't go after people or kids or other dogs, they have a high prey drive. I know we can't do much, but I recommend a muzzle. It's not an insult. It's not an attack. The dog is brand new to your home. It has been sent to the shelter 4 times. If you really want to cover your behind, you get it a muzzle while you train it, while you learn it, while it settles in, and it stops escaping and attacking things, because it's not going to stop trying to escape. Not for a while.
Cody is taking steps to better behavior.
And that's totally fair, but that's just my recommendation on it.
Thank you.
Any other, discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Fabi and I.
Donahue, aye.
Carboni, aye.
Candido, I.
And this motion was for you to visit, the Fitzleys to just check their.
Are you home in the mornings?
She'll be home all day.
I'll stop by in the morning.
All right,
And
thank you, and I'm sorry. So, sorry for both parties, so. Thank you. You can depart or you
Thank
can
you.
stay.
I don't think there's anything else.
No, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
David, thank you.
Thank you.
Dave, you wanna stay?
Yeah, I'll go over here.
or Dave.
Erica, could you ask the finance committee to, come on in, please? If you wouldn't mind?
Oh, they're at the-
It is the illustrious Lakeville Finance Committee, here and in person. Are you in session?
Not yet, I will call it the session.
All right. Nice to see you. All
So,
of you.
pleasure to be here. Okay, so with that, I will call our Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:41. I'm Christopher Blanco, Chairman, and in attendance, we have
Darren Beals, Michael Wright.
Okay. In front of us this evening, we have end of year transfer. So this is one of those situations where we get to come together as a unit. And I believe this is the last transfer that I understand from our town accountant and our interim town administrator. So this is a transfer from the planning salaries that was in there for the town planner in the amount of $3,985 to transfer to, which is the recommendation, to the treasurer collector salary line item, $1,485, and the treasurer collector expenditure postage line item for $2,500 for a total of $3,985. The explanation for this transfer would be the original budget did not include the correct step for the assistant treasurer collector. And the increased number of tax bills and demands compounded by rate increases while budget had been level funded. So that was the explanation. So,
Questions? Sure. It's my thing. Mr. Nunes, it's saying the original budget had not included the correct step for assistant treasurer collector. Has that been resolved in the new budget?
I believe it has. Erica is here.
Yes. All right, and then my second one on the postage, is this postage, is the next year's postage sufficient in order to support? And if it's not, can we encumber some funds, or does that go too far out?
It's hard to know right now.
Come up.
Erica, there's a seat over here.
Open seat.
You might as well stay, because I know we've got a couple of other items.
So it's hard to say exactly at this point how much we will need to encumber for fiscal '25. However, I do know that July 12th, I believe the date is, there's another postage increase for 5 cents. So I just feel like that compounded with just keeping up with the demands, etc., we will be over budget again.
Under budget or over budget?
Over for postage.
Oh, okay.
5 cents.
Okay. Everybody needs to get their own pigeon.
Get your stamps.
Can we adjust that at a fall town meeting?
Yes,
Yeah,
anything.
we'll address it at the town meeting.
Right.
Sure.
You know, just for, you know, the purposes of this would just be to, you know, make sure that everything's aligned for now, but, again, who knows what's gonna happen for the fall. Any other questions? Thank you, Maureen.
Do we have a remaining total for the town planner salary? After this is reached?
I do not, he left in January, so do you have it?
I honestly, I don't have his, I just have mine.
I would say probably around 40.
Sure, and the budget that we passed had the 3% increase factored in, correct?
For the town plan, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was the 85 and then the 3%.
Yeah, he was in the high 80s.
I do have
Sure.
it, there's
Maybe
28,980 left, I'm sorry.
Left.
For his,
For his,
department budget.
for his,
What-
line item.
Do we have a-
28,000.
28,980.
Do we have a record of where that all went?
He left in January.
Oh, so
he
he,
had 7 months salary.
got it.
And then there was some, Madam Chair, through you, there was some transfers that we did, I think that we took out of, that's
Exactly.
been the catch-all
Yeah.
right there to transfer the salary out.
Exactly.
All right. So I don't know who makes the motion, or somebody can make a motion, or we can discuss further.
I can't remember, do they have to be 2 motions or it's 1?
Madam Chair, the chair and the chair of the finance both signing, so there should be 2 motions.
All right, then I'll entertain a motion, from the select board, to approve this, transfer of appropriations for fiscal year 2024.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Baby and I.
Donahue, aye.
Carboni, aye.
Candido, aye.
Okay, I will, sorry, entertain a motion, to transfer the said amount of $3,985 in planning salaries to be allocated among the treasurer collector salaries and treasurer collector for postage. Same amount, $3,985.
So moved. Second?
Roll call?
Barbara, aye.
Right, aye. Beals, aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I ask who made the motion for the select board?
I did.
And
And Maureen
second?
seconded.
Thank you.
Okay, so the only other items we have discussion and vote for 2 meeting minutes. I will start with June 3rd. Before we do that, Tracy, there was one correction. Now I cannot find it. I believe it was on page 2. There was a reference to a comment by the school committee member, Crystal Ng. It was a quote by me, and it should have been a quote attributed, my quote should have been attributed to Crystal. It had a Mr., I believe it was page 2. It had a name, somebody else that doesn't exist. I think you misunderstood what I said. Oh, there it is, I found it. Okay, now, let's see, on page 2, Karen Plonka said Mr. Lane has requested cuts to offset the $800,000 error.
And now it's Crystal?
It should be Ms. Lane. Ing was part of what I was saying.
Okay.
So we'll approve it with just that adjustment. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Again, so the motion is to approve the June 3rd meeting minutes with that one correction, replacing Mr. Lane with Ms. Ing. Roll call?
Barbara, aye.
Right, aye. Beals abstain.
Okay. And Plunker, aye. Thank you. And the last item that we have is discussion possible vote for the June 10 meeting minutes. And no corrections are needed on that.
So moved. Second?
Okay, roll call?
Barbara, yes. Aye.
Yes.
Right, abstain. Beals, aye.
And Plunker, aye. Thank you. And Madam Chair, that's all we have.
Excellent.
So with that, I'll entertain a motion to close our meeting.
I have one point
Oh,
on the
sorry.
new business. That's
Yes,
okay?
yes.
We received a it was a report coming from, I guess that's really my question. It was forwarded to us by the Board of Selectmen on May 29th concerning the ESSER, E-S-S-E-R funds. And that report was produced and sent to us, but it did not have a date or a title or who it was coming from, or whether that was an original version or an updated version. And I just feel like we should have at least a header and a footer on documents that are being provided.
Did that document come from the school committee?
I think so. Yeah, it did. It did. So, yeah.
What was the date, Barbara?
July 29th, May 29th?
It was part of the breakdown of the SR2 funds.
Yes, it was.
The superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
So are you questioning how it was delivered to you in the manner in which it was delivered?
No,
Or
I just feel, I mean, my conversation, I guess, with the finance committee is, I think it's fair to expect that if we're gonna receive a report, we see a title. It should have a header and a footer on it.
Oh, I see. So the actual document
Yes, the
itself.
document
Okay, I
itself
just
was
wanted to.
produced for us by,
Right.
school committee, it turns out. But I just don't think that's appropriate.
Okay.
Sorry to be picky, but
No, understood.
new business for finance committee. I don't know what we can do about that.
It was
We're
May
just-
29th?
May 29th, yeah.
It came from,
Yeah, it's
Ryan?
just it looks like it's just, it came from Alan. It looks like it's just a PDF version of an Excel,
yeah.
or just the Excel, yeah.
They just pulled it together.
I can go back and request.
Well, I think raising the question, maybe will make, hopefully they'll hear about it and they'll consider making that change, you know, for us or anybody else that's gonna look at the piece of paper.
Okay. I
You
could
know.
bring that back to the finance director, Jack Higgins.
Okay, thank you.
I'll do that.
Thank you for listening.
Again, new business, Mr. Nunes, we will discuss that insurance adjustment. If you just want to give us a quick, we had a couple
Sure.
formal questions. I know it wasn't a topic for tonight, but just let us know what you told me, you and Todd told me.
Sure, so we did solicit quotes for property liability insurance, workers' compensation. We had one submittal. Maya did not submit a bid, a quote. It appears that the quote was 10%, a little more than 10% higher than fiscal year 24. We estimated about a 7% increase. So we will have to make an adjustment at the supplemental budget that will be presented at the fall town meeting. So obviously there are a few uncertainties right now, new growth, state aid. So we will make whatever adjustments necessary at the town meeting in the fall.
Thank you. Any questions?
Were there any standout line items that were significantly higher than others?
I would have to look at, I know workers' compensation maybe, it's a little
Yeah.
higher than what we estimated. I think
Okay.
that's where the increase came.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to, Madam Chair, if you don't have anything else.
No, just before you leave, if you wouldn't mind, Chris, I'll hand this down to
Yep,
Tracy.
I'll
Just
sign
sign
it.
that, sign and date that. That would be great. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Mankowski, yes. Aye.
Right, aye. Feels aye.
Wanda,
I'll
aye.
get it eventually.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Feel free to schedule a joint meeting with us anytime to just.
And absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay. Agenda item number 3. Just kidding. Number 8. What time is it? 8? Okay. So in front of us, once again this evening, we had, I know Member Fabian and Member Donahue were not here at the last meeting, but we did have in the agenda for us to discuss the extension for our interim town administrator, as the expiration date on the contract is July 19th, 2024. So during that meeting, it was discussed, and we would actually need to vote for a reappointment versus an extension. So it would be a reappointment for the position. So basically the motion, if this is what the board would like to do and entertain this, would be to reappoint Robert Nunes as the interim town administrator with a term beginning July 20th, 2024 through, and this is where we can discuss further, October 15th, 2024. I know it's not 180 days, but we may have a permanent town administrator in place at that point, or not, which we would have to come back and discuss.
Madam Chair, I had a comment on that, if that's okay. Even if we did have a permanent person in place, we'd like some time to transfer knowledge in that time. So an overrun is not a bad thing in my estimation. There's a lot to rake over and a lot of knowledge transfer that that doesn't happen in an instant. So as long as we can, we should, is my thought process on that.
Okay. I know we'll be getting an update later this evening on the town administrator search, but if it comes down to getting closer to October 15th and we need to extend that date, then we certainly would have to revisit. But
So move.
Can we make it?
We can make it official, but I also wanted to, have the discussion that the, contract, as far as I understand it, would remain, the same, with the same terms, as before, with the hours, participating, in the role, as well as the salary.
I do have a comment on that. That would have been handy to have it in the packet. I looked it up. I had
agree.
a copy, in my email, but, I didn't get a copy of that in the packet, so that would have been a handy working document.
I agree.
But yes, yes.
So I'll take that on.
Yes to all.
Yes.
Yes to all.
All right, so, I'd like to, well, I guess the motion would be, to reappoint Robert Nunes as the interim town administrator with a term beginning 7/20/24, through October 15th, 2024, which would include the same terms, as indicated in the current contract.
So move.
Second. Motion is second. Discussion.
How do you feel about all this?
That's fine.
Okay.
Do you see he's glued to that
We're not
chair right
allowed,
there?
he's not allowed to answer that. He's gonna hang out with us.
No, I put a lot of glue, Gorilla Glue on that chair. So, all right, hearing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Baby and I.
Donahue, aye.
Carboni, aye.
Candido.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Again.
Okay, Erica, would you mind joining us again, please? So at the last, meeting, there was a request to have a listing of all, town-owned properties. And to our surprise, it was, 90 pages long. I'm exaggerating, but it was a pretty intense document. Our treasurer collector had gone through and actually highlighted some, notes in some of it, that seemed to be pretty, important, I think, what brought us here for discussion this evening. So if you wouldn't mind, just kind of talking a little bit about what this is in front of us this evening.
Sure. So as you may or may not remember, I brought two lists in front of you a couple weeks ago. Just because of the shortness in time to get back within 2 weeks, I looked at the first list, the town of Lakeville properties, and went off of that one just because it was shorter. Picked ones that I thought were potential auctions, in addition to 3 from the other list. And the only reason that I included those other 3 is because we are paying money to Clark Shores Association for those parcels.
That's good to
So I
know.
just wanted to put those just to entertain the idea.
That was a question, I believe, that, Brian had.
Got it.
I believe Brian asked the question if there were any of the parcels that we were actually, incurring an expense toward.
No.
Okay.
You may want to tell them how much that fee is.
The betterment fees that we're paying, they call them betterment fees, but I believe it's to like improve roadways, et cetera, in Clark Shores, is $300 for the year.
Okay.
And it's on, I've received them for 2 of these 3 parcels.
What street's on?
So,
You may want to tell them.
I know we're not voting on this evening, but this is a really good, breakdown of the list of the properties. I'm looking at some of these that I need to see it on a map. I have to visual.
I had a light bulb go off this weekend, so I made copies of, and I included the property card and the map.
Okay.
For each one.
Much
in the order.
appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this will give us an opportunity, you must have this electronic that we can, send to Member Day.
I actually have a pack it for him.
Okay.
He likes
But I
electronic,
can,
don't
I
He
can
like- yeah.
absolutely scan it. and- oh,
He's
absolutely.
electronic guy.
Yeah, he likes electronic. So, I know that there's a couple of, sites on here that I think I would like to look into and maybe bring back, to the board for discussion. So the goal here was to look at the properties, that is under the town's, I guess, ownership, and be able to auction these parcels off so that we can get them back onto the tax rolls. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So,
Madam Chair?
Yes.
As usual, question. A lot of these are non-buildable, lots. Would the board have any appetite for land banking some of this for future projects in town? We haven't been land banking in the last few years, which, we need to do, and if we ever have like school or construction projects in the future.
So if it's unbuildable and we land bank it,
Well, that's the question. I don't know that it has to be buildable to land bank it. I don't know that that's a criteria. I think that's a question that I have.
but then we can build on it?
No. So what happens is, I could just give you, for instance, for when this police station, was being built, Natural Heritage wanted us to have some, conservation land or land bank land, taken off the rolls in order to kind of recreate the environment, et cetera, et cetera. So, it's one of those things that we're frequently asked to do during building projects. And we really didn't have anything land banked at that time. Even though we had put some stuff under conservation restriction and all that, we didn't specifically land bank it. Like we had all of Betty's Neck and we had all of that, which we thought would satisfy the criteria, but it didn't. So it's not like a big fine or anything like that. It was a small fine. I think it was $9,000 total, but it's something that I know we had, and I believe I was on the finance committee at the time, we had said should be policy going forward that whenever possible, we should land bank some parcels of land unless there was an opportunity to reduce nitrogen load at some places like Clark Shores, or have people have better septic or wells if they're abutters to the property. So, the first goal being to better people in town in Lakeville, and the second, to be able to protect ourselves and to obviously create little mini spaces of unbuildable areas that we're keeping track of.
do we have a process or a system in place where we actually hold land that is designated land banked?
I don't think so.
Not that I am aware of.
Not that
Okay,
I'm
so we
aware of.
need to look into that, what that would entail for us to develop it, because I really, I know that this has come up in, previous discussions in the past, the term land banking. So it would be nice to know how we would set that up.
Can reach out to town council.
That would be great. And then we would need to identify, if in fact buildable land or unbuildable land would qualify under that.
Yep.
So I think that would be, our first steps, but, it's a good point because we have had those
Yep.
before. And I wanted to thank Erica for going down, and saying non-buildable or buildable. And if I can, how did we determine this? Was this through, a review by the building
Most of them
commissioner?
were based on what I found in the assessor's,
Okay,
database.
okay.
Any ones that didn't have the notes, I reached out, to Norman in the assessor's office to see if he could do a little digging on.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So this is documented. If you look at some of the assessed values here, it's pretty, substantial, but, again, we have a process of auctioning off, property.
Well, Madam Chair, the only ones that I see that are substantial are the ones that passed to the town since 2021. The ones in 2019 and dateless actually look really very low as the assessed value. Just saying, I don't know that, a lot of times when the assessors are looking at town-owned property, they're probably not assessing it in the way that we would want to in order to sell it.
Right.
So that exercise
Right, there's a
should
whole
probably
other,
be,
right,
yeah.
there's a whole other process. You know, in looking at this, there's 3 Fern Ave, I didn't realize that we owned property there. You know, it's a small, you know, little bit, but, I think that I'd like to understand where that is.
Town, the owners of Fern Ave gave us that property in 2019, I believe, as a donation to the town. It's unbuildable, but it's next to multiple neighbors.
Right. Still, for now. So anyways, if there's any other discussion on this, we'll bring this back at the next meeting. I'll have, our new interim town administrator, Mr. Nunes, reach out to the board, with any, you know, questions, on how we wanna, about the process of, you know, going through this.
Madam Chair, may I suggest that we actually have the assessors go ahead and update these values to make sure they're accurate as we're looking at them in order for us to get the full picture?
So, I mean, I'm assuming that the,
See them each year.
One-
and we don't
yeah,
do
like-
actual bills, I just don't know their.
Hemlock Shores, 1 acre of land, 130,000. That's more like 300, 400,000. That's significant depending on where it is. That's 2019 pricing and stuff. Just an acre of land on Hemlock Shores is
Still not a buildable lot, right?
Is that one unbuildable?
Yep.
That one's buildable, it says.
Is it?
which one?
Hemlock Shores,
Oh, I'm
But
sorry, I
it's-
was looking at the one
Yeah, 1
above
acre.
it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's still not an acre and a half, like a regular lot.
oh,
so-
no, but I think Hemlock Shores is under different
Yeah,
because it's, the cottage housing. Yeah, I just think just getting the updated values would be helpful in the exercise before we went any further.
And I know that, you know, Member Day, you know, was pretty, instrumental in getting the request through, so I would, prefer to have the discussion, you know, further with his input as well.
Great.
So for the next meeting, just the questions answered about the land bank. See if the assessed values, are current. That'll give us a chance to take a look at the information that you've provided, which I thank you. And, how we want to, proceed with auction the properties. We may decide that we'd like to auction all, a few.
could we also, have zoning enforcement here, Nate?
Agreed. Sure.
Because that's why some of these are here, because they're funky to begin with, so.
Yeah, we can certainly invite Nate. Tracy, if you wouldn't mind making note of that as well. Invite Nathan Darling.
Full government.
Yeah, full government name. Well, that's what shows up when I
He's
go to
listening.
send him an email.
He's
But
listening, he knows.
He knows. Anything else on this? Oh, yes, Erica, please.
So if we decide, I wanna say about 13 properties, parcels, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
If we determine that we don't want to include some of these, I can always revisit the bigger list just to make an auction worthwhile.
Okay.
Just, you know, say we only have like maybe 3 on this list, I can always revisit the bigger list. I just looked at the smaller one just because of the crunch time.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was like 90 pages long. It's just a lot.
This is off topic, but would the auction have the guy going, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it? Is that how it goes?
I've never done a land auction before.
I
It's
haven't
by
either, but I
bidding, right?
suspect
Oh, yeah, no,
it-
it's like a regular auction.
Yeah, I believe it is.
Just people attend and goes to the highest bidder.
Very good.
Yeah, well, we actually, so we would host it and we would obviously, it would cost us money to host this. So I would like to know what that expense would be as well for the next meeting. Because I know that would be, you know, a question that we would probably want answered. Yeah, because I'd like to attend one just to say I did. Anybody else on this?
I'm curious if these folks are here for any of these land things.
Not this one.
No, okay.
They're here for the,
They're number 11.
43 Main Street.
Yeah.
Okay.
Water
all right.
allocation.
I just
Water
don't want them-
allocation.
Don't want to go over.
Nope, nope,
Okay.
nope. I just wanted to make sure that, Erica, do we have anything else, on this agenda, that had your name on it? I don't believe so.
Can we just get, I haven't gotten through the entire last meeting. Was there any decision made on, the 0 Cherry Street?
Yeah, what was our vote?
Yes.
We
Give
voted?
an update. She can give, Erica can give an update.
There, so they decided, select board decided, to offer it to 5 Cherry Street owners for $8,000. So I emailed, the owner the next day. I don't believe she received it right away because she had reached out to, Mr. Nunes, and, I emailed her back and just said, maybe check your junk or spam, and if not, I can resend it. She did end up finding it, but I haven't heard anything more.
All right.
Maybe we just,
Okay,
maybe
thank you.
follow up. Because I think we'd like to try to close that if she is interested. If not, then we'll have to take a different approach. So,
Thank you.
yeah. All right, let me just take a quick look here. So I'll jump to 11. So our guest from Rhino, if you wouldn't mind, just come on up. So in front of us this evening is a water allocation request, and that is something that the select board does, it's under our purview. So, Rhino Capital, the owners of 43 Main Street, which is also known as the hospital property, is requesting a total water allocation of 75,000 gallons per day at 45 Main Street. This request, because there were two previous requests, and I believe there is a letter in here, indicating that in July of '08, we did allocate 42,000 for a previous project. April of 21, we appropriated, or allocated 6,045 gallons per day, for another project. So this right here in front of us this evening is a request for 26,995 gallons per day, which would bring the total allocation for that property to 75,000 gallons. Did I say that right? That's correct. Excellent. Okay. Did you fill out your application for that?
We have not.
Okay. So I do know that we would need that filled up.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I may. So, John and his team, have had several discussions with, Building Commission, myself, and we suggested to John and his team that they come before the board to get a feel of where you stand, and then they would follow the necessary procedures. So,
I think more just wanted to introduce the
Yes.
project formally to the board and the request formally. And
Please.
then obviously would proceed accordingly from there. So.
Right.
I can summarize the project.
Yeah, why don't you
for those of you-
summarize?
Yeah, for sure. So,
And just for the record, if you wouldn't mind,
Yes,
I mean, I know
absolutely.
we've met, but for the record, if you
Yep.
wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, that would be wonderful.
John O'Leary with Rhino Capital.
Sam Randall, Rhino Capital.
Sorry, John, I didn't have my glasses on. Now that I put them on.
That's okay. That's okay. No worries
Okay.
at all.
I'm having
not.
a big glasses issue, so.
That is okay. No apologies necessary. So for those of you that don't know, we are the owners of the property at 43 Main Street. We are proposing a mixed residential master plan development that includes 120 units of assisted living and memory care in a 3-story building, a 70-unit independent living building, also 3 stories. We are proposing a 200-unit 40B project, as well as 68 active adult age qualified townhomes, a total of 458 units across 49.4 acres, various site improvements, including additional surface parking, stormwater improvements, public amenities such as 2 dog parks and a nature trail. And then obviously, as part of this project, we'll be completely remediating the existing buildings, as well as the unlined and unpermitted landfill that exists in the rear of the property. And our request here this evening, or the reason that we're in front of the select board this evening, is to discuss a request of 75,000 gallons per day of water allocation. This isn't just a random number that came to be. This number was informed via our plumbing engineer, who is working with us on this project. This 75,000 gallons per day is equal to the wastewater gallons per day estimate that we have developed as part of our on-site wastewater treatment plant that is currently being permitted through DEP. So the amount of wastewater that you're allowed to manage is equal to the amount of water that you're allocated. So that's effectively, it's 1 in, 1 out. That's effectively how they determine what that estimate is. And that, I believe it should have been included. I believe it was included, sort of a breakdown on where those gallons per day are coming from. Title V is a state law, a Mass General law, I believe, that determines estimates per bedroom. In most cases, the clubhouse has a slightly different estimated total. Housing for the elderly has a slightly adjusted to a standard residential unit, and all of those estimates are included in the notes section there on the right side. So our exact total is 71,250 gallons per day per Title V. We built ourselves just a small buffer in there, getting us to a round number of 75,000 gallons. And again, that number is what we are permitting currently with DEP as the size and capacity for our wastewater treatment plant. So I think that summarizes it. Happy to answer any questions. Again, I think this was more just want to open the floor, have a conversation, a discussion, and then we'd come back with, going through having the proper application filled out and the like. So we still have a long way to go with the town and with the state in front of the ZBA and the planning board. We certainly have some runway, but again, wanted to get out in front of this and just have this conversation with you all.
So I had a couple of questions. The 40B project is already submitted for review. So are they, as part of their determination as a valid project, does the water have to be allocated before their decision?
By Mass Housing?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Mass Housing project eligibility letter will be issued, and then at that point, we are then allowed to or able to submit to the ZBA for our comprehensive permit process. Now, the ZBA might require that is determined before they issue a decision, but I believe that's sort of at their discretion.
The second question I have, Mr. Nunes, is do we need to rescind the previous water allocation votes to 0 and then re-vote for the entire water allocation for the property because it's for different projects?
I don't know.
So we need an answer for that, I would think, because it's documented on the previous votes on the application what that water was used or would be used for, and then that's no longer valid.
My only question, Sam Randall for the record, would be, were the parcels mentioned? Because it may run just with the land. So when you sell it, that allocation may actually run with those parcels, so
Good question.
might
Good
have to
point.
check the
Yeah.
language in the decision for that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, because we have had previous, votes on this, that we're voting into the record correctly so that, you know, there's no recourse down the road
Right.
to come back, to haunt us. So,
Very good point.
if we could, we'll just find that, we'll find that answer out. So basically, you know, we're just looking for, 26,955 in addition to what we already have voted, so. Madam Chair, through you to either Mr. Means or Leah, because I know they're both big on their water numbers. Where does that leave us with our water allocation?
Probably between 65 and 70,000 gallons, so we really need to get a hold of Taunton,
Yeah.
make a phone call.
Schedule a meeting, because we're at about 100, a little over 100 right now, I think, and this would just bring us, you know,
I would be partial to having that conversation
Yeah,
and getting
and-
that done before we would
Yeah.
vote on anything, because, yeah, we would be putting
So,
ourselves in a.
about a year ago, there was some conversation that, so this has nothing to do with you folks, that Taunton Water was letting one of the marijuana companies, like, use water off of a hydrant or something.
right.
So there was some talk about, you know, perhaps they could bill them directly, but the board, which I think was me, Lorraine, and Rich at the time, said we still want to know what our number is. So it's like, I still want to know how much water is going to these, because that can definitely impact some of our decisions.
Yep.
So we still need to be considered in the process. So it's almost like we should just ask them if they can give us more of an allocation.
Yeah. And how much of an allocation should we ask for in,
Right.
like, we don't wanna keep coming back, right? We wanna be able to
Right.
give ourselves a good 10 years of leg room and.
Yeah.
Action item, Tracy, please.
Action item.
Schedule, meeting with Taunton Water regarding water allocation. Yeah, and we'll have to look at that.
We should maybe have that meeting offline with Taunton before
Yep.
coming to the select board,
Yep.
so I
Yeah.
can work on
Yeah, I
it.
That's good.
recommend
Yep.
Bob,
Yeah.
you know.
Do that.
Yeah, you know people there, right?
Yeah,
Just
people.
mayor there for a bit.
Although a lot of folks in the water department, I think the entire water department's changed.
It's new folks.
Right. It's all
with
new
the
except for
exception
one.
of- Yeah.
Just
One
walk in
gentleman.
and say, don't you know who I am? And that
Yep,
should,
that's it. You
that
just
should
walk
do
in
it.
there, knock on the gate.
I'll talk to the building commissioner tomorrow and we can
Okay.
set something up with Taunton.
So, I can't speak for the other members of the board, because, we're not, because we're not gonna vote on this evening, because obviously we need to have a formalized, application, and we gotta make sure that we're set for the future. But consensus wise, we're absolutely, willing to entertain the application.
Great. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate it. We're here to answer any questions either this evening or going forward. So if something comes up after this is closed and moving on, just feel free to reach out to the project website. We check it regularly. It has an email on there, and then happy to give Bob as my contact information. So
A potentially dumb question. You said you have a wastewater treatment plant.
mm-hmm.
So you produce 75,000 a day, and you're requesting 75,000 a day.
Mm-hmm.
So is it actually 75,000 a day, or is it just recycling, like PEMDAS canceling each other out?
No, the gray water gets processed, treated, and then infiltrates into the ground. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's just basically an oversized septic system. Effectively.
So I know, and I will be honest, I'm not sure, I made the last, I thought there was another information session, but I know the first one that was at the library.
Mm-hmm.
There was one part, the adult, I think, it might have even been you that said something like, we're pretty sure everything else is, that may be the only one that changes. Are you pretty sure now that this is what's gonna happen?
Yeah, we had our first planning board hearing 2 weeks ago, the week before the holiday week, the 27th of June. What was shared there, which included the active adult age qualified, which in December did need some work. Currently, we're really happy with it. We're really, you know, I'm very impressed with our project team and what we're able to produce and feel it's a really good product. And what was presented at the planning board is, by all intents and purposes, by every intention of us, to be what we would intend to move forward with. And obviously there's, you know, peer review and, we need to continue the process, but,
yeah, so, I mean, I'm basically getting to, so you're pretty sure this number is, you know.
Yes.
Unit count, not changing.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yep. I will take I see your hand up. You need to, please.
Hi, a resident, and I just have some questions, because I don't understand how the financing of it operates with Taunton providing the water. Like, would Rhino be paying Taunton for the water? Is that how that would work?
Yes.
I would imagine so,
Yes.
if they're the
Yes.
property
Yes.
owner.
So they would be paying, and kind of where I'm coming from, obviously, you need a lot of water, obviously, and hopefully our wells, we're gonna have to watch what happens with our wells and our own water use. What does come to my mind is, I don't know if you're aware of it, but in the Northeast and other parts, people are experiencing huge water bills. Somerville in particular, $41,000 for a resident, a single resident, a $41,000 water bill. And what they were doing was passing on. So I'd like to see some kind of protections in place so that the people that are in the housing there do not end up with exorbitant water bills, because water is becoming huge. It's becoming huge and
Very expensive
it's
commodity.
a bonanza. There's a bonanza going on with water, and unfortunately, individual residents are paying a high price for it. I have a well, so it's not an issue for me, but for some people it would be. So I would love to see some kind of protection language that Taunton Water Supply could be written into the understanding of that water usage.
Do we know
I
how
don't-
much we're getting
you
charged
know,
for water?
I don't know.
It's been a long time.
So that's actually,
It's a good question.
When we were
Thank
talking-
you, Noel, for the record. Noel. Noel.
when we were talking about reaching out to Taunton, residents, the first council on aging thing I did, a couple residents from LeBaron came up and spoke to me about their water. They wanted to reach out to Taunton, but they said that no one was returning. Maybe when we speak to Taunton, you could have someone reach out to them?
Yeah, I've met with, if I may, off the topic here, I've met with the residents of LeBaron. It will be I have to talk to the chair, most likely the first meeting in August. It will be here, and I do have intentions of reaching out to Taunton about that issue, so now we have two issues.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
what I can add is that I do believe that with other developments, they get charged, but then because they're providing more than just water in, they're also providing the wastewater treatment that, the residents aren't paying just gallon for gallon. But I do know that what's happened in a couple of other developments is that there was no bypass for sprinkler systems and other things. So again, when the actual application is in front of us, that could be something that, I'm glad
could
Noel
bring up.
brought it up. But, now also it's a little bit different because, the assisted living facility, people aren't getting individual water bills. And folks in the apartments are also not getting individual water bills. So, I don't know what the active adult, because I've been actually away for a couple of weeks, so I haven't totally caught up yet, but whereas some of these other locations, they were individual homes, and even they didn't have a bypass for their sprinkler system, so they were paying on every single gallon, even though the water was going to, water the community. They had early issues with septic tanks, with the wastewater, because folks you know, who have never had them before, we're putting the wrong things down them and whatever. So, you know, a lot of it goes back to education, you know, what you can and can't, you know, do with septic tanks. But I think the biggest difference here is they're not individually owned homes. So I don't, you know, the rental is probably a different concept. I
Yeah,
would guess.
the only caveat I would add is that active adult homes will be for sale homes.
Okay.
So those, it's our intention that those will be individually metered.
Yeah.
But yes, you are correct that the senior housing would be under what would likely be 2 meters, one for the assisted living memory care, one for the independent living. So 2 meters with that single development. And then I believe just a master meter or.
We might do sub meters for the apartments, which is, it's not a direct meter. It's not a bunch of meters for each apartment. It's something that you install in the units that measures the water usage.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're still working
Yeah,
through that.
yep, no, and that's kind of, and I know that, you know, we have, select board hours. So a select board member goes to the senior center, and sometimes there are seniors that are there for coffee on Fridays anyways, and sometimes people come in off the street to ask us questions. And that's been one of the most popular questions over the last couple of years, because some of the individual houses were seeing, not some, almost all of them were seeing, you know, $3,000 per quarter water bills, because it couldn't, you know, it was for not just water in, but it was for wastewater also. So, you know, if there's anything we can do
Right.
to help that ahead of the, you know.
Right, because we want to make sure that, you know, for our residents in town, that, you know, the expectations are clear. You buy a house when you got a well, you're responsible for your own well.
Right.
You know, this is a newer approach for us, as having, you know, these assisted livings and developments. So we would just want to make sure that the clarity is there for those that will be occupying, and that it's not all of a sudden, oh my goodness, we have a $3,000 water bill that I was not unaware of.
Yeah, and there is, you know, some thought to, well, that's what your HSA is supposed to help you with.
Right.
But, I mean, if we can make recommendations, I guess, so that we don't get to a conflict, then there's no resolution that needs to take place. So, I just can't dismiss someone who's coming to talk to us and say, wow, we're paying an awful lot of money for water, so, and wastewater. So anyways, I think you guys know this better than we do though, so.
Thank you for your patience.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll be in touch.
So, well, I guess we'll have to circle back, and then, you know, once we solidify some of our answers, I'm sure Mr. Nunes will be able to reach out, to let you know what he finds for how we should approach the application process. And then we'll see you again.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Talk soon.
Right.
So I know Lacey Marshall is here, and there's quite a few little things here. So I'd like to invite our Human Resource Director, Lacey Marshall, to the table, please.
Madam Chair, we just have to keep in mind, we have to go back to 10.
10,
Let's get
number
10.
10.
Yes,
Okay.
no, I circled it, thank you.
Hi, Lacey. Hi. I just want to let you guys know my funny story that I got locked in my house. I lost the power and my garage door wouldn't open. So
That's funny.
yeah,
Release latch.
yeah, no idea.
Yeah,
No idea.
There is a
Then you have to
yeah,
lift
there
the
is
door.
a release latch on the garage.
Yeah, no idea.
You
I
gotta
was like, oh, so I'm locked in my house.
You gotta unhook
Not technically, but
yeah.
No car.
no car. No,
Yeah.
no big deal. Power came up and I was like, ooh, and I made it.
Okay, so let's look at, agenda item number 12.
Okay, so, Madam Chair, can I, because I don't think Tracy had heard me last time, we had a lot of chatter. I just wanted to say again for the record, I'm not sure, we usually have Wage and Personnel Board as a header on, when we have Wage and Personnel Board on here, and I do not see that on this document. And
if we don't, should we be discussing it
On this form?
on the posting?
Oh, on the posting?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's
and
the
you-
select, usually in the past, it's been, you
And
know,
I didn't
the
know if we
select
were just
board,
doing that for tradition or if we
and
needed to.
the wage and personnel,
Yeah, it fell off a while ago, that wage
Okay,
and
so it's
personnel
just
board did.
tradition?
It just fell off, yeah.
So the handbook actually says that it's anything over a 40 hours is approved by the select board. It doesn't say wage and personnel board in the handbook. It says select board.
Okay.
Even on the forms, it says approved by the select board for requests in excess of 1 week.
okay. Okay, all right.
I'm good with that, if
Mm-hmm.
that's what it says.
All right, so we'll take them one at a time.
Okay.
So every now and again, you know, coming in front of us, there's a request, of an employee for vacation carryover coverage, overage. And I believe our policy, if you wouldn't mind, stating what our policy does.
So the policy states that an employee can carry up to 5 days if approved by the department head. Anything over that 5 days then needs to be approved by the select board.
So 5 days equates to 40 hours.
Well, depending, because you have somebody such as Tracy who does 32, so anything over 32
Okay,
for hers.
okay.
So that's why I
So
say 5
approximately
days.
40,
Right,
okay.
yep.
So clarifying question, Madam Chair, are these requests the delta?
So that's funny, because I'm gonna explain that, because some of them put the delta, some of them didn't put the delta, so I did take notes so that I could give them to you.
Got it.
And I also, one of them did not make it in the packet, I do have a copy for all of you, it was Lori Fabies. And that was my fault, it just was on my desk and did not make it over.
I don't think you can vote on it.
So it's up to 5 days
But we,
if approved
we
by
can
the
receive
department
this one,
head.
we wouldn't, I guess we could ratify the vote.
Yeah, in the next meeting.
The
we
next
have to-
meeting.
Action item.
Yeah, right, poor Tracy. The list is long.
That is definitely my fault. Okay. So which one do you want to tackle first?
The first one would be the request, from the inspectional department, clerk for carryover of 6.5 hours.
Right. So she actually has 46.5 total hours. The department head has agreed to the 40, so the overage that the select board would need to approve is the 6.5.
Say that again?
So the 5 days she's carrying over for the 40 hours was approved by the department head. So the select board then would need to approve the additional 6.5 hours.
Okay, because you can approve up to 5 days.
As a department,
And this
yes.
is above and beyond.
Yes, the 6.5 is above and beyond.
Okay.
So the 6.5 is the only thing that needs the approval.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Can we just make that motion?
Yeah?
Okay, I make a motion to approve the vacation carryover request form from Kathy Murray in the amount, or in the hours of 6.5
Second.
hours.
Motion and a second discussion?
That was a terrible motion, I'm so sorry.
well, just
Thank
to
you.
be, do we have to say that it has to be used by 12/31/24?
Nope, so they've signed it, acknowledging
Mhm.
that they'll
Okay.
use it prior to that, and then they give you that little brief description of when they'll be using the time.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll vote, please.
Fabian, aye.
Donahue, aye?
Carboni, aye.
Candido, aye.
Okay, the next one in front of us, is the DPW director. There's a request of 31, carryover hours. If you can, Ms. Marshall?
So yes, he has 62 total. He used 31 this past week, July 4th, so it is 31 that he is requesting to carry over the 40.
Okay.
Wait, that math isn't mathing.
It's because 4th of July is a holiday, so you
Got
don't
it.
exclude- I said the same thing. I was like, wait a minute, you're tricking me. No, it's because you don't count the 4th as a day. That's why.
Okay. And the indication would be that it would be used by September for the rescheduled trip. So, entertain a motion?
So moved. So moved to approve carryover for Franklin Moniz, 31 hours.
All right, so you're so moving, Leah. You made the motion.
I'm
you're
so moved.
We're moving each other.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, roll, please.
Fabian, I.
Donahue, aye.
Carboni, aye. Candido, aye. In front of us is the request from the animal control officer, for a request of 80 hours, to carry over. And Ms. Marshall?
So, yes, I had to look at this 4 times because I was like, there's no way. But he actually is carrying over 40 and is requesting 80. He has not taken really any vacation. And he kind of explains it. One of the assistant COs that were hired to provide found a full-time job, so he was not able to use them. And now he's just looking to carry it over and knowing that it has to be used by December.
So to understand that 40 hours was already, the 5 days were already approved by, the department head.
Yep.
So
And
was
then
it-
this is an addition.
It was
to
a
that.
total of 120.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if he took 2 consecutive weeks off, would we still have someone to cover his position?
Not right
That,
now.
and that's the problem. That's why
Okay.
he's not able to really take his vacation time because there's not somebody
Sufficient.
To take it.
that's there full-time that can pick up for him.
Now, it does indicate here, that we're gonna work to, replace the assistant that left the position.
Yes.
So,
So I don't think he has a dedicated plan, just based off the fact that until we find a replacement, he can't take vacation.
so is this position funded?
So here's the thing that I'm finding, and it's gonna come before the board, I'm just trying to get the right verbiage. We have a excessive amount of people that are still considered town employees that have not provided services to the town in 6 months or more. And we have no policy that says if you have not participated in working and you're not seasonal, then the town has the right to just terminate you. So we're carrying quite a few people that, because the position's not vacant technically, we're not hiring against it. So I think that's something that does need to be looked at. And maybe, then it gives me that empowerment to send them a letter and saying, hey, based off of you not working, the select board is, you guys sign it, it gets sent, and then.
Okay. So for right now, we have the discussion about the hours, okay? So we're gonna have to vote on that. I think that this opens up a whole nother discussion when I'm
Yep.
looking at this.
Yep.
Just for understanding is that we still have an assistant ACO that's working full-time, but can't cover the shifts because of their full-time job.
Yes.
Okay, that's a whole nother discussion. So I'd like to, entertain a motion to approve the request for the carryover of 80-hour, vacation for the animal control officer. This will be used by 12/31/2024.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, please.
Well, I think we know what we have to work on.
I'll have it
ma'am.
to you for the next.
Would you please make sure that gets on the next agenda for
Oh,
us?
yes.
Yeah, we need to, with a plan.
Yep.
To address. That would be great. Okay, any further discussion?
Just one more discussion, and, I think the plan will have to distinguish between special police officers and this role, because some special police officers don't work for 6 months at a time.
And that's kind of what brought it to cause right now we had 49 that were listed, and when I spoke to Matt, 9 of them are actually recognized as being like participants. So we do have a list on that side as well that needs to be shaken out.
So it would be not only work, but how often
Right, and so I think
Or
in hit on that
on
side, the
request.
police chief kind of makes that decision, right? Cause he's, you know, he's got that empowerment. On our side, I think it's something where, and I'm only seeing it really with certain positions, but I think, yeah.
Yeah,
just to
because if
trust
we're
the
making a
person.
policy, I just didn't want it to.
Yeah, it won't cross over into theirs.
Okay. All right. Hearing no further discussion, roll please.
Phoebe and I.
Donahue, aye.
Carboni, aye.
Candido, aye.
All right, and a late submittal, that didn't make this packet, is the request from the Council on Aging Director. So if this gets voted this evening, we're going to have to ratify it at our next meeting, so it'll be, brought back. But there looks like there's 56 hours.
This looks like it doesn't follow the same
So
format.
it does not. So it is 56 hours,
Total.
40 have been approved.
So 16.
The request is for 16.
Okay,
That's why I had to look them all up to make sure I knew who was what.
all right, so this is for 16 hours.
Yes.
So this will be used by, in the rest, by December 31st. That's what I'm looking at, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So I will make a motion that we approve the 16 hours to be used by December 31st.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Tracy, you can decide who came in first.
In sync.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll.
Phoebe and I.
Donahue, aye.
Carboni, aye.
Candido, aye.
All right, will you please, Tracy, we're gonna have to put this on the next agenda to ratify the vote, so I don't wanna forget that. I haven't come up with my system yet to make sure that, you know, I remember
Action item.
everything.
Isn't that your system?
You need an action item.
It's action item, yeah.
Nope,
Or
we're
Leah,
searching
put it
for
down,
it.
policy. Okay, number 13, and I know that this was coming back, around, so we.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry?
Okay, it's fine, that's what caught my attention in the agenda.
Oh, excellent. So we have, been notified by our veterans agent, Will, that, he will be retiring and, resigning from his position effective August 1st? Or
August
October?
2nd?
August 2nd?
Yes.
Okay. So we need to have a conversation about what this means for, to fill the position. So, Lisa, you're here.
And so I reached out to the Department of Veteran Services. I finally got in touch with them today. There was no clear guidance. It just says about the 12,000 population versus under 12,000. Legal gave them the guidance that because our town clerk is showing that we're over 12,000, we are required to have a full-time veteran service officer. Bob and I have spoke about it. He had already reached out to Freetown. They weren't sure that they wanted to pick up any more hours. Marion, Rochester, and Mattapoisett already have a township in place, so they have one VSO for those 3 towns. So kind of locking into that is not really feasible. I believe he reached out to Carver to see, you know, what the VSO there is and what their workload is to potentially share. Right now, I would propose, if we do put it out, for doing like 30 hours instead of the 40 hours, because I don't think we have the workload to sustain a 40-hour employee.
Madam Chair, through you, question for, yeah.
Lisa, you're a veteran.
I am.
Is there a way that we could have you in your position listed as a veterans agent with a secondary veterans agent
Funny
underneath
enough,
you?
I asked that question. So because I said the same thing, I could easily do, 4 days a week as the HR director and then 1 day as a week as like a VSO or something. If you are the VSO, it has to be your full-time position.
Got it.
And that was gonna bring me to the question, when they say a full-time position, did they designate what that means by hours? Because I know 32
They do
hours
not.
means 30 is full-time. If it's a shared, a veterans agent with another town, that would be 20 and 20. Does that designate a full-time person?
It does. So Will was actually considered full-time. He was under Plymouth County retirement. I don't know if you guys know that or not. So he worked the 19 hours for us, and then he also worked for Halifax. So he was a shared entity between two towns, which is why he was a full-time person. I did also ask her, so in the interim, while we are looking, I am able to kind of close the gap and be able to provide services until we find somebody, but I can't be considered the full-time person. So yes, I'm allowed to kind of like hold it up so that things don't fall through the cracks and that the veterans are continuing to get a service, but we do, we need to have somebody full-time. And full-time, so it is funny too, because Massachusetts doesn't designate what full-time actually means. Full-time is based off of whatever the employer considers full-time. So 30 hours, the way that our policies are written is anything under 19 is part-time for us. Anything at 25 is part-time with benefits. So realistically, it could be 26 hours. But giving it that little bit of like wiggle room, I would say 30 hours is what you're looking at for a full-time employee.
But Will was considered a full-time
Because
veterans
he
agent.
was split.
Working in two towns.
Right.
He was working in two towns.
Right. But he was providing 19 hours here.
But we didn't pay him or give him benefits as full-time.
Right.
Right.
Right. That's right.
And-
Going on.
Yeah, and
No, I mean, it just seems silly that, one person can split their hours, but yet we have to hire someone full-time if we don't combine with someone else. I
Right.
mean, is the veteran services job description per veteran services, or do we have any say in that job description?
So the only requirements based off of the state is that they have to have an honorable discharge, DD 214, and then they have to complete a training within 6 months. So once we hire them, I would send that name to the Department of Veteran Services, and they would reach out to the VSO to set them up for the training. And they have to pass the exam with 70%.
All right, so my next question is, there's gotta be some kind of a veterans listserv or some network, that it doesn't necessarily need to be a neighboring community. Perhaps there's somebody within, 20 miles from here, another community, that would be in the same, similar situation.
is where Will is retiring from, is he retiring from that community
So-
as well?
Yes,
Right.
I will be reaching out to Halifax tomorrow because I thought the same thing. If he's retiring from one,
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So,
probably retiring from two.
so we all understand we need a veterans agent.
Yes.
How we meet the requirements, set forth, we'll get creative. We're gonna have to, right?
So, I just had to call Brockton for someone, and I think he told me they have 4 people for the entire city of Brockton, so maybe that's, we
Yeah.
could share someone.
Madam Chair, through you.
Oh, I'm sorry. If you wouldn't mind, could you come up and,
So it was honorable discharge, their DD,
Yeah, your DD 214 has to show that you were honorably discharged.
yep.
And then they have to complete that training within 6 months of hire.
And then pass a test.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
excellent. If you could state your name, please?
Colleen Lynch. Just for the record, I volunteered 2 days a week down at the Massachusetts National Cemetery. My husband was a veteran. VSOs are extremely important. I deal with veterans calls every day, and I'm my first question to them is, have you met with your local VSO? A lot of the veterans are of a certain age that they need the assistance. You know, the younger guys, you know, we have a lot of information that we give out. You know, they have QR codes and email addresses and things, and I get them on the phone and they're like, you know, you have to do this form, you have to do this form, they're just lost. I do have a book in my office of all the VSOs. It's actually on the Massachusetts website. Lists every VSO. Unfortunately, it's only dated up to 2021, so some of the information is not accurate, but every city and town is listed in there with their administration for each VSO office. I don't know if that'd be any help if somebody's looking for something in a surrounding town, but it's definitely something that's extremely important and we need in the community.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we acknowledge it. We've been very fortunate, having Will, here, and, you know, it was kind of a shocker. Because he's been a staple here for quite some time, so.
Yeah. And I mean, he was great because even during COVID, when most of our buildings were closed, he would still find a way to meet with people.
Sitting on the park bench, at
You
Ted
know,
Williams.
It was fantastic, so.
Yeah, making sure
you know,
everyone got what they
He
needed.
was very, you know, very, determined to help folks regardless of.
Yeah, and
you know.
anyone that's had anything to do with it knows it's a very hard navigation through anything with any type of veterans administration.
Exactly. So,
Excellent.
I just wanted to kind of hear.
I appreciate it.
No,
I'm glad you came.
How they felt.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, if you have a book with names in it.
So, yeah, it's on the website, and I do understand that, and I thought about just reaching out to surrounding communities, but I don't want to overstep and reach out to the VSO without speaking to the community first, because I think that's the more appropriate thing to do, right? Like, I'm not just poaching your person.
So you can lean on our newly appointed interim town administrator to do some community outreach, because I would imagine they probably know.
And he absolutely is. He's reached out to Freetown. He's reached out now to Carver. So we are working it from our end as well.
So where we do have a temporary, I guess, solution, temporary, I don't want that to be a long-term. So I know that we should probably set some kind of a, time frame, to try to bring this back to having some movement, I guess.
Madam
We have to
Chair,
make some decision.
for Lacey. Do you feel like you need some support though to do everything that you need to do in the interim? Like, I mean, should we hire someone part-time in order to just assist you in some of the functions, until we hire someone, like a seasonal part-time or anything like that?
So right now, Will is still working.
Yep.
For 4 weeks.
For 4 weeks. So I would say if we can get the posting out, if we can work with it, bring it back on the 22nd, you know, get a posting out however we want to do it. If we want to do 30 hours, if we find out by then that we can join with another community, it still gives us a couple weeks for Will to be in place. I can get on the systems. I don't know. I really need to kind of sit with Will and see what the lift is. I know that most of it is now, everything's digital. So the veteran sits with you, and
Reimbursements.
the reimbursements, everything's through the system, through the VA. You have to have access to that system. And I think, you know, that's the piece of like the navigating and understanding it. But the person that I spoke to today was amazing, so I don't really think that it's gonna be.
Well, I'm worried because you're gonna have to be out of your office, because you're gonna have to be over at the COA.
So I figured I would do the same thing as well and kind of do like a Friday where I would go over and just kind of see what the need is.
Gotcha.
Okay, I was just looking at the date, so 22nd is our next meeting.
Right.
I don't think it's a good long-term plan.
Oh, I absolutely don't want to do it long term.
But
I'm just
I
saying
think-
that
I
I don't want to see there be a break like you talked about, right? I am a veteran, so I understand that. Like, I don't wanna see a break where you have a person that needs some kind of care and there's nowhere for them to find it, right? So, just that continuity, so I mean, I'm looking at like a month, maybe 2 months, but at that point, like, yeah, we need to put somebody else in place.
Now, just, can a veteran, have to go to the town VCO that they're, where they live, or can they utilize another veterans officer
So
in
they
another
can
community?
utilize another, so, again, speaking with, Gina on the phone today, so if we didn't have anybody, we could send them over to Middleborough, but again, it's for an interim
Right.
because state law, you know, we have to have a veteran service officer here. So, yes, if it was something like that, but Middleborough is pretty crazy, you know, on their own,
Busy.
Freetown.
Busy.
He wants to clarify it's busy, not crazy next door.
Busy.
I don't want to inundate Middleborough.
He does a great job, he's awesome.
Freetown, again, is just a part-time
Yeah.
person, so.
Well, as long as, you know, we have the service available and, or support and direction to provide, should it be needed. I just, you know, I think that's important to all of us to make sure that remains fluid.
Yep.
So, excellent. I'm glad you came. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Very nice to meet you.
Maybe you can apply.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So that one's, so we're good. We'll see you on the 22nd for that one.
Okay.
Let's see, what else for, I was gonna say, well.
Don't say crazy.
No, I can't say crazy, but we were heavily, encouraged to sign, to get our cards, our access cards. And we
Yes.
signed our policy,
Yes,
No,
yes.
you
Just
have it.
saying.
I greatly appreciate it.
If I put this in with the rest
You're
of my
fine.
cards, it doesn't
No.
deem.
Okay, that was good. So was there anything else on here, Lacey, that we had for business for you?
I don't think so. Objectives, are you discussing?
Oh, yes, we'll get down to that in the under new. So let's just kind of rattle some of these things off because the goals was part of the,
All right.
but I don't know that Lacey needs to be here for that.
I wasn't sure.
We just needed your printout,
Okay.
which Tracy provided.
Oh, perfect.
Because we wanted the report out so that we had something to look at and make sure that we're in line and see if there's anything else we wanted to bring to it, but I don't think we need you for that.
Okay.
All right.
Let me go back to
Thank you, and don't get locked out.
Nice to see you.
Yeah,
Have a
remember,
nice
above your head, little dangly thing, unlatches it.
Next time I'll just call you.
I'll be there.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you very
Good night.
much. All right, so, item number 10. So I spoke to Christina briefly when I was in the office, the other day, and she had indicated that they were ready to go, with the new voiceover, system. So I asked her to make sure that we put this on, we had it on the agenda for a vote, but, after further, comment that came that, did we really need to vote for this if we voted for implementation of the voiceover system? So that was a question. I don't think it hurts to vote for it, to have it on the record, but I think, I'm trying to find my agenda item because I think I moved it.
Yeah, and I was the feedback on that.
You were
because-
one of the feedback.
Oh, okay, because, Madam Chair, if I may, this is an operations thing, this is not a policy. Otherwise, if we bought a car for, Dave Freights, would we have to have a vote to have him drive it after? I think it becomes redundant.
Yeah. Looks great.
So my feeling, I had mentioned to Christina that I wanted, her to please just bullet point, and I don't know where it is, it's in here somewhere, I know I've read it. Bullet point what the, oh, here it is, the rollout would be. After the last few weeks, I'm feeling that there's an opportunity for us to improve services to our residents, where if we have an initiative or service that will impact the current service to our residents, where this will, that we should have some kind of an implementation plan and community outreach to let the residents know that this is coming. So right now, when residents call in, there's a number posted on each of the web pages for each of the departments, and then they get the department and then they field the questions. So this voiceover system was designed for an opportunity for, you know, residents to call in and, you know, go right to that department, or you know, to help improve services, I guess. So in this request that I had asked Christina to do for us, that there's still some final connections that need to be done with the animal shelter and the transfer station. The July 15th to the 26th, you know, they would advertise, basically let people know that this was coming, and that would be implemented. So when they called at some point, they would be getting an automated system, and then the green light to launch. So I support what Maureen is saying, that I don't think that this is under our, we have voted to implement the system. I think it's up to our administrator to report back to us and let us know when it's happening.
Who gets the call right now? Like, if you call, who does it go to?
It's nobody, it's not active.
It's not up and running.
Or just in general.
Currently, if you call the town hall, who does it go to?
Whoever you call, because
Yeah,
it's
whoever you
direct
call.
numbers.
Okay, so it would be taking away direct numbers and
Yes.
putting.
General number. Right.
Got it.
My only thing is, on the town clerk, it says, please press 5 to be connected to the town clerk.
She should be one.
Well, I think it should say town clerk's office,
Yeah.
like it does underneath
Everybody
the
else?
treasurer's
Okay.
office.
As someone that answered the phones, it's probably should be one, just for the fact that that's the number one, like.
Yeah, place that people
I need to do
call.
my dog license, I need to do this. Yeah. So. So where did you see that? Number 5, I'm looking for 5, I'm not seeing it. Did I miss it?
So it's, the second bullet.
Oh, town clerk's office.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want that number 1?
It doesn't matter to
doesn't
me where it
matter,
is,
Yeah.
it just that
Yeah.
it should say town
No, it makes
clerk's
sense.
office,
No,
that's
but
all.
That's
Just
the
as a,
motion.
just as a volume,
Yes, exactly.
like a time saver for
Exactly.
people. Yeah. Rain, what do you say, 2 clicks, what's your?
Oh, 2 clicks,
Two
you better be
clicks.
there.
You don't
2
wanna
clicks.
be, you don't want anyone, you know,
So,
wading through.
When
this
do you want
was,
this implemented?
Yeah, this was a script, as a sample, script of what it would look like. If you press 0, guess where it goes? Is it
Town clerk.
Tracy Craig McGree?
Town clerk.
It goes to the town clerk. Okay, and our town clerk knows.
Okay,
that-
I was gonna
that
say
the
that's-
calls would be coming into, that particular office. There's voicemail, so I'd like to make sure that, you know, what, did all departments have voicemail now? With the numbers that they call in, so voicemail is checked regularly. I'm guessing. Yeah,
I'm sorry?
voicemail.
Yeah, I checked my voicemail.
No, at town hall, if all the departments, I was looking at Tracy,
Oh, sorry.
so if anybody
Yes.
calls into any department, there is a voicemail,
Yes.
okay. Currently, so it's not, a voicemail is not new.
So if you want to move forward, it can go, you know, with the schedule provided. If not, if you want it, you know, 2 months from now, 3 months, just let us know. But it is ready to go, based on the schedule provided.
The only suggestion I might have, I don't know how difficult it is to set this up, but you could set it so that when you call in now, you get a short clip of an automated voice that says something like, beginning on, what day is it? We'll say July 25th. Beginning on July 25th, we'll be switching to an automated system connecting your call now, just to let people know who are calling that it's going to be different in the future.
I don't know. if
Because
we
some
have
people
that
won't check
capability.
Facebook.
I don't think we can
I
do
don't
that.
think we have that capability.
Okay.
Tracy, we can't do that, can we? I don't think we
believe
can.
so.
No. I
So
don't think we
what
can
is
do
our,
that.
what is our, yeah, no, I think it is. So what's our number? Do we have a number? Not that,
It'd be 8,000, right?
It's probably gonna be the 8800, which is the town clerk's number. When you, right now, when you Google from a laptop versus a phone, one way you get 8800 as the town's number, one way you get 8803, which is us. It depends which vehicle you're using.
Okay.
Which is
Strange.
Really?
random, yes.
Wow.
so if the residents, you know, have it in their phones and they're gonna dial 946-8803, when this is active, is that number dead?
I do not know.
That
I
would
don't
be a
know what
question.
happens. Because
we wouldn't be paying for all those numbers.
we
anymore.
also have multiple lines in each office, whereas we have 2 lines. Some offices have 2 numbers, so that was a question I asked. What happens to those numbers? Are they dead? Are we gonna stop paying for them? Because
That's the idea.
what happens to all of them? They,
Yeah, I was there. I was part of the people that did this for Middleborough back in the old days.
Okay.
Yes, and so we ended up with just one number and we no longer had to pay for the other numbers, and within a couple of years, the other numbers were reassigned.
okay.
I just wanna make sure that we have a transition plan in the event that, you know, these other numbers are no longer in existence, and if you don't have the right number, you don't call town hall. It should be redirected. So, okay, that would be my only concern, but yeah, I think you guys decide. If that's okay with the rest of this board consensus wise.
It's fine with me.
Yeah.
Trust you.
Yeah. In other news, I did what Tracy asked to look it up. In Lakeville, we only have 3 stars, on Google. That's very sad. They
We
would
need
not
more
recommend.
stars than that, so. Okay. All right, thank you. Michelle, I know you're here. You've been really working diligently. Well, we're now at 15. No, 14. All right, planning board has, as normal operating procedure, they submit, for comment, plans to other, departments and committees and commissions. In front of us is the 5 Harding. This had come in front of us before, and, I can't remember what kind of comments we had, but they're slightly changing it from 1 structure, 1 building, to 6 smaller buildings on the parcel.
It's a big change. Is this the former Lakeville Farms?
Yes.
Property? Got it.
Yes. Yep. So it's under lot 1, the curb cut's already there onto 44, and I know that there was, because I always throw that in there, just line of sight was important to me, but other than that, I know that the previous plan is in front of you here, and then the newer plan. So it's the same parcel of land, it's just reconfigured differently for purposes. So,
It was contractor based before?
I'm not even sure.
I think it was contractor based. Is it the same use? That would be my only question.
What does it say here?
Looks like right now it's a lot of dirt with 4 smaller buildings. And then they're gonna put 6 basically around the ring of it.
It says here, minor plan changed to plans for 5 Harding Street previously approved by planning board on 10/24/2015. Change from 1 large building to 6 smaller buildings, site layout and, to accommodate the new layout, so.
So it
I don't know what the,
new use.
I don't know.
I can't tell.
And Leah, you have your X-ray vision eyes on right now. What does it say under the site notes? Anything?
Contractor.
I don't even know.
It says it's not located within an area of critical environmental concern. It's not located within an outstanding resource of water, not located within a zone A or surface water supply, not located within a zone 1, 2, or IWPA or public water supply.
It isn't? I thought it was located near the beginning of Pecoy Brook.
But I think where this lot, where this development is, they've already had the buffer, secured.
Oh, but number 10 says the majority of the subject property is located within a natural heritage estimated and priority habitat, according to the latest online maps.
All right, so that'll be something that they'll work through on with the planning board.
Okay.
Does the select board have any comments other than usage would have been important?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. It doesn't, I mean, looking at this, it doesn't, the exit looks the same as it did with the other property.
Yeah, just,
So I don't know, I mean, they'll come back if there's a water allocation, but
So the applicant says Lakeville Nursery redevelopment.
yes.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
it
what
used to be a
used to be.
mink farm, right?
Oh, gotcha.
Years and years and
Yep.
years ago, yes.
Yeah, is there any issue with this new layout for access to fire? Would be, like for turnaround for the fire trucks?
That would be, up to the fire chief,
Yeah.
because this will go.
Yep.
This will go in front of, just as other plans will go to the Board of Health.
So it goes to
Select
them
Board,
again.
Building, Conservation, Fire, Highway, Police, and Open Space.
So it goes
Yep.
back to everyone
It
again.
goes to everybody, yep.
I don't know. Not a real lot of information to go on.
So, no comment? Wow. No comment from the Select Board. We will hold our comments. Mr. Nunes?
Madam Chair, it's just, it looks like it's owned by one contractor, and it is a natural heritage site, according from the building commissioner.
Thank you.
So,
Who has eyes on the Select Board?
What's that?
Who has eyes and ears on the Select Board?
yeah, natural heritage.
Okay.
So I assume it would be contractor base.
Yep.
But it's
I don't know what it
contractor
looks like.
business.
Are we good to move
So
on?
is this, do you need to take a vote? Is this
No.
informational? It's
Just informational.
So if we had comments, sometimes
Then you
we'll
would refer
vote
it,
to
okay.
submit the comments, but other than that, we're good. Okay, town clerk appointment, for the annual election workers. This is something that we do. This appointment, has a term that would expire August 15th, 2025. I know we don't, do we have to read the names of the people into the record? Or can we just make a motion
List is
to
presented. List is
reference
presented.
as presented? Okay,
Vote on list is presented.
there you go. Can somebody do that, please? Make a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the appointment of the election workers as presented in all the posted documents pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 54, Section 12. The Board of Registrars is requesting that the following registered voters be appointed as election officers until August 15th, 2025.
Motion?
Second.
Second, discussion?
No problem with someone being in New Bedford?
There's New Bedford, there's,
That's fine.
Rainham.
Yep.
There's, yep.
No
it's fine.
issues?
No issues.
And that's good.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none? Roll, please.
Baby and I.
Donahue, aye.
Carboni, aye.
Cindy, do I?
Okay, we have a person interested in being reappointed, as a constable. There's an email that we received from the police chief reporting no issues. And he requested that, this motion be to reappoint, Ian Daly as a constable for civic process only, for a term that would expire July 22nd, 2025.
So I make a motion that we reappoint Ian Daly as a constable for civil processes only for a civil process only for a term to expire July 25th, 2025.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion?
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Why is, not why is he being reappointed, but why does he need to be reappointed? And is there a reason why it's for civil process only? And what is civil process in this instance?
I know that, constable appointments are termed.
Hi.
Oh, we have a note here. Yeah.
Please.
Oh, our attorney's here. Michelle, would you like to join us at the table, please? Nice to see you. There's a spot right here if you want. We can hang out.
Where's the air conditioner better? No, yeah, so civil process is just the service of like summons and complaints in civil cases, which, you know, have to be served by, you know, court rules and statutes by a civil process server. Sometimes the county sheriffs used to do that. Some of them have split off and have their own civil process, but a constable is an alternative to that. And basically someone wants to sue someone, they pay a constable or a process server to serve process of that notification. So I think the main point is they don't have any police powers. They can't enforce criminal laws, and that's always, you know, sometimes that's a concern for folks, just to be clear on what they're.
Got it. So,
and you have to do this on an annual basis.
okay.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, no further discussion. Roll call, please.
Baby and I.
Donahue, aye.
Carboni, aye.
Cindy, do I?
Okay, how about, do we want to go through these dates now, or do we want to just come back, through Tracy to just let us know what's available, when we're available for September? Because Brian's not here.
What about August?
I kind of like her suggestion, if you do the 12th and the 26th, then you would avoid Labor Day. If you meet the 9th and the 23rd, then you line up to skip Columbus Day. I would go along with that.
Madam Chair, August would be helpful because I'm trying to plan vacation time and I'm trying to plan it so that I'm not out for agenda prep.
I'm fine with August 12th and 26th.
Okay. All right, August 12th and 26th it is. Leah, you're done with vacation. Brenna, you're still, you're here?
For August, yeah, I'll be here.
Okay,
August.
excellent. And then in September, how does the 9th and the 23rd look?
Good for me.
Okay.
Yep.
Sold.
Wait, the 23rd? That's a Tuesday.
Is it?
I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong month. No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're good.
All right.
16 plus 7.
It took me a minute. I'm like reading it.
Yeah.
All right, good, excellent, we're on there. Building committee updates, food pantry additions.
Yep, we're moving forward. I've talked to Pomeroy Associates about being the OPM on the project. They're reaching out to a designer, so that project is in process and moving forward.
Excellent.
Can we afford an OPM?
It'll be part of the opera funding.
Okay. The fire station building committee, we had a brief meeting and, this was right after town meeting and, talked about our next steps and we are gonna be meeting on 19, we're in July, right? The 24th. So we'll extend the contracts, for our OPM and architect and move on to the next. So we're pushing forward right now.
If I may, Madam Chair, on the senior center, we're not, if I may,
Yeah.
we're not required to have an OPM on the project, but because of the limited staff we have, we thought it would be best that we do have an OPM on the project.
Yeah. I don't have any updates on the, old colony, so we can put that, I'm sure Brian will update us at the next meeting. Town Administrative Search Committee, Leah, I believe that's
Yep, we
yours.
have a meeting, planned for July
18th.
18th. Out of the 8, only 7, submitted essays. I know I've talked to a couple of people, not happy about the number that we're receiving to look at, so we'll let you know what happens after that.
Yeah, it does seem, but
Low.
really low. So I think that the last time we spoke, there was a question, there were 18, I think, applicants, and then I heard the number 19, but again.
Well, there was one that came in late, but it was, I believe, disallowed because it didn't make the 9 a.m. cutoff.
Okay.
So there was 18.
So there were 18, and then, so then there was a whittle down process of who we were gonna send out.
So we were under the impression, at least I was, from many conversations, that we were going to get more than just 7 or 8 to look at. And MRI said, no, we're giving you 8. And then the one candidate didn't do the essay question, so it's only down to 7. And I know.
So the essay question went out to 18 people?
No, it only went out to 8 people.
Only 8 people?
Yeah.
Oh.
So this is a little bit different in the process from before, and we've had a few conversations. Lacey and I have had a few conversations with them, and they're sticking to their only 7 people, and they feel like we'll want to interview all 7, but I'm like, we didn't need such a big search committee if we were only gonna be looking at 7 resumes, so it's a little bit different than what I expected from having worked with them before, so.
And I was expecting the resumes to be here and available
Right,
to us
and
already,
we also haven't.
We don't have them yet.
Yeah, we haven't
So, you
received
guys
them
haven't
yet.
seen nothing yet?
No, we haven't seen anything yet.
So that's what you're gonna get on the 18th, is the resumes and?
Well, we're
I think it's
supposed.
the 12th, right?
Yeah, we're supposed to be prepared to discuss them on the 18th.
Okay, so you'll receive them, okay.
What
Yeah,
was the essay question?
I'm sorry.
What was the essay question?
There's several. There's usually a question about onboarding, there's usually a
They have a
question.
data bank,
Yeah, sometimes about the
If you were an
town.
animal,
the-
what would
yeah.
you be?
Budget.
Really, that's our bar?
Sometimes budget questions, just sometimes, like what's one of your difficult, but it is a significant amount of information to go through, and, it's the actual application, it's the resume, it's the essay questions. I mean, it's a lot of reading, so, and we do have a couple folks saying that's a lot of reading to do in 6 days or less, because let's face it, we have to be ready for the 18th, so that day doesn't really count. So,
Okay, well,
yeah.
I just have to say that I have no sympathy for the extra time that you're getting, because I think I was voted as the person to represent
Oh.
the select board at the
The
superintendent,
day
and I
before?
had 24 hours to review 16 or something
Yeah.
resumes and
So we'll
yeah.
see what happens.
Okay.
I mean, you know, so, and, MRI is adamant that they don't even want to share even any information from anyone else, even if they don't give us their name, because
And I understand all that.
I understand, but,
Yeah.
you know, the committee has respect for confidentiality, people's
okay.
confidentiality, but.
People listening at home, the committee will narrow it down to give to the selectmen.
Right.
And the reason they narrow it down without the names is because it becomes public and that's one of those things where
However,
it
you know,
impacts their day to day.
some of us had suggested that the essay questions go out to more than 8 people in case not all 8 people submitted their responses, as is the case. So instead of getting 8, we're only looking at even 7, so.
Sounds like you guys are gonna have quite the discussion on the 18th.
Yes, I believe we will.
Okay,
So, that's that update.
wow, thank you.
Mhm.
Where's the meeting gonna be held, Leah?
I think it's here, maybe in the conference room.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. Bob's gonna stay for a little while longer though.
I saw that earlier on the agenda.
Oh, did you meet our newly appointed?
That reference
We've
as
known
well.
each other for a while.
That makes 4 points.
Are you writing it down?
No, I'm just teasing.
No, you should, because I'm drilling that in there. Okay, any new business coming in front of the select board this evening?
Actually, go ahead, Maureen.
I don't know, you might have the same thing for new business.
Maybe not,
Oh,
but you can
okay.
go first.
All right. To what we already talked about before, when we had the audience here for the assessors. I have a lot of questions on how the taxes, issue came up as such a surprise to everyone. I had questions on when the reeval, was, communicated, who it was communicated to. Is it one of those things where, they have a threshold that they let people know? I know if I got a 90% increase, with no warning on my taxes, I'd be pretty upset. I'd be more than pretty upset. So having all those people there earlier tonight, I know they came, even though it said, just for information, they would be on the select board's meeting tonight, but I know they came looking for answers. And I would as well. I think whatever the process was, it was probably fair and equitable and all that, but they had 7 months to communicate this. It wasn't on the website. There was no changes on the website. I went to look when someone asked me about it, because I'm like, oh, and I saw no changes happen to the website. No communication went out to the public, and then they get the bill in the mail. I think that's a recipe for absolute disaster on every front. So I want to make sure that whether or not we're able to resolve this, whether or not there's something that we can do, we want to make sure that every year, or when the reevals, which is every 4 years, is it 4 years where they do the reevals?
I think it's 5 now.
Yeah,
5
it's
years.
5.
5 years. When we do a reeval, that they're looking, we're looking for context here. Is it a 3% increase? Probably don't need to tell everyone. They're probably expecting it. 20%? Yeah, people are going to want to know.
Yeah.
And they're going to want to know how it was happening. I appreciate that they're going to have this educational session after, but that is so far from what delivering good government is. And I appreciate there's all sorts of things that went into it, and but not seeing it wasn't on the website for 5-6 months, no communication, and I'm not sure about the no communication. I wasn't here back in December. I don't know if you guys did get anything on it, but I know it took me by surprise. And seeing those numbers makes my heart break for these people.
Well, and it's not just that you have to pay a higher tax bill. For a lot of these folks, their tax bill is still attached to their mortgage payment. So now their mortgage payment is gonna go up.
Yep.
And the bank will, the financial institution is still gonna pay the tax bill, and now they're gonna have to increase to make up what they're paying, what they're putting, so it's definitely,
100%. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like significant dollars.
yeah.
Like-
And I mean, you know, and again, to Lorraine's, to Madam Chair's point at the beginning, I can throw out 5 scenarios right now. I mean, okay, so we all know what's happening in the real estate world. We all know that, you know, it could take a year to 2 years to whatever for that to be affected in the assessed valuations, but it's been longer than that now, so.
Oh,
I-
sure.
You know, I also know there haven't been a ton of comps, so maybe there was no way, but this is all
Yeah. And I'm not-
speculation, it's
and I'm
all.
not- Yeah, I'm not stating there's no validity to
Right.
it. What I'm stating is someone should have said, we need to push the alarm button.
Right.
Stuff's
I'm
going up
sure they,
90%.
even if it wasn't 6 months ago, they, you know, the assessors probably knew, at some point, maybe there were public meetings, but, you know, let's face it, the assessors' meetings are not the most watched meetings on
Definitely-
LakeCAM, so
Definitely not, but.
maybe now we, you know, at least I will go back and watch a few and see,
Well,
go
you know,
through their agendas.
I would like to do a little bit more than that, and I would like to, like, maybe ask that yearly, when they're doing their assessments, if there's anything that is significant, and we can define what significant is,
Yeah.
that we're allowed to know what it is, we're forewarned, and specifically, the people that it impacts is forewarned. This was just the worst of all scenarios in order to get that message to
Yeah.
them, is for them to open it up and see that number and then just assume it was a mistake because it was so far.
Well,
with
and
what they were
again,
expecting.
you know, there's very strict rules on abatements and, you know, you must, it doesn't say you may, it says you must, I believe.
Yep.
Pay your tax bill.
Yeah, and you know how
So-
easy it is to deal with the mortgage companies, even if
Right.
it's been abated.
Right, so in order to file for an abatement, you must pay your tax bills, so folks are gonna have to pay, and again, I mean, there's all things involved here. I would think that such an increase would be shifting the tax burden for some of the rest of us, but, you know, then you say that and people, you know, I've also heard some really, you know, crazy rumors that just aren't true because, you know, I heard
No,
one.
but when you, lack of information creates room
Right.
for those rumors.
Right, and it's true.
Right.
So what I was saying, I think when we were talking about the voiceover, is that I think we as a municipality, boards, committees, commissions, departments, can get better at our community outreach. When there is an initiative or a change in service to the residents, getting the word out there that this is coming.
Yep.
This was significant.
Yeah. And I mean,
Absolutely.
just because you file an abatement doesn't mean you get one, and if the data is there, then that's gonna be a whole other, cause right now, folks are hanging their hopes on filing for an abatement, but if they can't,
I know, I saw, you know, one of the people and they're saying it's not, but their value is their value.
Right.
And it happened, but I don't think anyone was expecting 90% in 1 year, and I don't think,
yeah.
I think that's hard.
I agree.
So, my new business is a question. So I know there's conservation meeting tomorrow, a second time posted. And without really going into a lot of detail, who's running conservation? I thought we were maybe looking for a person, not looking for a person, I'm not real sure,
It
so.
hasn't come in front of the board that we were,
Okay. Well,
as
then
far as I
will
know, we
work
have,
with the
we still
town
have an agent.
administrator.
We have a conservation agent,
Okay,
as far as I know.
I believe this, you may be on medical leave.
so,
Do they appoint someone in the interim as your
well,
question?
I mean, that's kind of my question,
Right.
and I noticed that there was an error made on some decision that was made, and that's why there needs to be a correction on the
I
agenda.
think maybe the chair may be going out, doing some site visits.
But under what authority?
Right, I
Well,
don't know.
that's kind of my question.
I can get an update, report back at the next meeting, if you want me to.
No, yeah, because I guess I'm blindsided right now, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you want me to get an update for the next meeting?
Yeah, if we could.
Can we, reach out to another community, borrow someone and do a pass-through and pay them?
Yeah, I don't
What's that?
know.
Are we able to open it up and ask another community if we can have someone come in and sub for some of their duties?
Or a
and-
consultant or
Well,
something?
I mean,
I'll get back to you.
Some stuff would be paid through, like, peer review.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, right.
So I would
Which
just
we use.
rather
Yeah.
ask Bob to
Okay.
figure this out and, you know,
Okay.
Yep.
we'll go from whatever you
All right.
find out.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
the update.
Anybody else have any new business? Okay. Old business, ARPA update, please.
Okay, I'll give an update on some of the outstanding issues. If you go to page 1, Plymouth County ARPA, in regarding the irrigation system spigots, that project is being overseen by the DPW director and is moving forward. The Old Town Hall restroom septic project, the bids are due July 11th. The pavilion sound system, obviously, will solicit proposals after the pavilion project is complete. I mentioned earlier, the food pantry addition is moving forward, working with Pomeroy Associates. The town hall roof project will start within the next 2 weeks. The Clear Pond water project, we did have several meetings regarding, in fact, the chair and I were on site with the chairman of the park commission. I did reach out to environmental partners. They are in the process of putting bid documents together. That will be out to bid by the end of July, hopefully contracted, awarded by the end of August. Again, that was voted on by the select board to move forward. The Ted Williams Camp Lighting Project and the mobile snack shack, that we are still looking at those two possibilities depending what the balance is in revenue replacement. It looks like if the mobile snack shack is, somewhere around $25,000, that may be doable. That we have been notified by the county that the skate park renovation project is ineligible. Voting tabulators are in process of being purchased. The pavilion project, now we're moving to direct funding from the federal government, page 2. The outdoor stage cover, which is the pavilion project, bids are due July 18th. The irrigation system for police and libraries being overseen by the DPW director, that is in process. The Ted Williams Camp Security System and Engineering at Clear Pond Park, we haven't started that, but we'll be working on that shortly. Again, that's direct funding from the federal government, so it's not as stringent as the county, but we will get that moving. We will need a vote. I know we discussed at the last meeting, or maybe the meeting before, 2 meetings ago, the resurfacing of the Ted Williams Camp parking lot. We do need a vote this evening to move forward on that project. And the Southworth and Leonard Street projects, and talking to the DPW director this morning, a milling took place today and will be completed. Those projects will be completed within the next 2 weeks or so.
That's good.
So we are making good progress. And like I said, we would need a vote this evening from the select board to move forward on the parking lot resurfacing project at Ted Williams Camp.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second discussion?
Is there enough money to do both the engineering at Clear Pond and the parking lot resurfacing?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, signify by roll, please.
Fabi and I.
Donahue, aye.
Carboni, aye.
Candido, look at us doing stuff.
Right? Getting it done.
Now, is the engineering gonna be moving forward?
What's that?
Is the engineering at Clear Pond gonna be moving forward?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't reached out
Oh, no.
to the engineering firm. That's it, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much for the update. We still have some money to spend, so,
Yep, I'm getting it.
We're revisiting our select board goals. Member Donahue asked to put this on the agenda, so, which is what we should be doing anyways. This is something that we would do. When I had asked our, report out that we received from our HR director who helped facilitate our goal setting session, to get that back in front of us, so that we could, you know, kind of revisit where we left off. So, goal number 1 was to improve, town policies, and, I believe, Leah and Maureen were the two that were kind of.
I'm gonna do new policies and Leah is gonna revisit old policies.
I'm still protesting that decision by council. I do not agree.
Okay.
So, plain and simple.
With what?
Maureen and I are not gonna sit down with a bottle of wine and hash out a way
Well, I'll
to
be
get-
sitting down with a bottle of wine,
Yeah,
but.
and hash out a way to get all 5 of us to do what the 2 of us want. It was more so just to sit down and say, this is,
Here's
20
language.
years old. We should look at this before, you know, this or whatever. So I think, that's just silly. And that's actually one of the reasons why I haven't even
Proceeded
started.
it further.
And, you know, I mean, there's a decision, Maureen to do new, me to do old, and, whatever. I don't even necessarily know what that means in some cases, so I think it's just silly, but whatever.
So we had, the question during we kept using the term subcommittee, and knowing.
Well, that buzzword, there
Yeah,
you go.
there you go.
But we never really called it a subcommittee, or at least in my opinion,
Working-
it
we
wasn't a
called it a working
subcommittee.
group.
It was a working
So
group.
without having looked at Greg's opinion, I can tell you that we frequently get asked the question about working groups, advisor groups, task force. And unfortunately, the Attorney General's office it's very, very fact specific, and they have viewed in some instances that something that may, you know, involving less than a quorum of the board may still nonetheless be considered a subcommittee. So it's just, you know, I get this question from all, especially the land use boards and committees that, you know, you mean 2 of us can't get together and do some homework, and you know, and it just is an area that can be very complicated. So do you want to be safe or sorry? That's sort of,
Well,
I think
there
we
is
tend to
no,
err
right, and there is no
consideration.
decision that, and this isn't even really based in any law. These are just our local select board policies, so that's why it's not like there are bylaws that are attached to most of these. It's not like there's state law that's attached to most of these. So, you know, it's just, we would have been done by now, but this is just kind of ridiculous. So
The only
and you know what? No one's going to change my opinion, so.
You have a
So
right
I
to that.
believe that, you know, we were looking to have something, I think, I went back and I listened to some of the, you know, the discussion that was September, I think, or August that we were talking about.
And I've already submitted one through, Mr. Noon's, for, code of conduct. I had submitted that, in its original state, back 2 months ago. So that I have, and anytime we're ready to bring that before the board.
So how does the board, and Brennan, I need you to speak, because I know you asked to put this on here. I had planned to put it on here too, so it was nice that, there was other, outlook for this. How do we want to get these policies in front of this board? Are we doing it every quarter with 4?
I would ask Maureen, what did you submit for code of conduct?
You got a copy of it. It was basically a verbatim. I didn't change it. I do have the changes, for, the sandwich, document of code of conduct, but I do have the changes. I just don't know the appropriate way to submit the changes.
But see, that's my point exactly. So, you know, the work I wanted to do was to just sit down and say, does this need to be changed? Not submit changes, because to me that influences the board. So, you know, that's why I don't agree with two people can't work together, because we're not trying to influence the decision. We're just saying, two of us think this is outdated. And whether, you know, because it doesn't matter what you've submitted, I can just convince two other people that we don't agree. So, you know, that's why, just as someone could convince me, like one policy is that the chair calls the weather, okay, at town hall, okay? It doesn't matter what I think personally, because I'm not gonna submit it and say, I think that this is outdated. I think we just submit it and say, this needs to be looked at, you know, by the board, and just make a determination. That's it. Is it still effective? Is it not effective?
And that's for old policies, whereas in this, what I'd be submitting is a new policy.
Right, and I guess we would handle it the same way. It's a new policy that comes in.
That people would mark it up in open
It'll
session.
be, you know, as I had said about a policy, for a policy, 3 readings. You know, the first would be the introduction, the second would be, you know, further discussion, and the third would be the vote.
So what would be the proper way, is my question, for me to introduce this
Well,
new
I mean,
policy?
and again, that's, you know, something else too, because one of the other old policies is the no political signs on town property. So my point is, we should look at that. It doesn't matter what I think, because I'm not gonna write a document for or against. It's just, we need to sit down and say, is this still a relevant concept today? And I mean, I think all of us can agree with what just happened with someone having, you know, an inappropriately worded sign on their property. That's their First Amendment right, so we can't go anywhere near that. But, you know,
Brenna had something. Go ahead, Brenna.
Are all the policies digital?
I think Christina has scanned them all.
So the reason I wanted to bring this back on was because I felt partially responsible as to how the meeting went and why it ended so soon, because I was kind of visibly frustrated, and I think it made everybody a little bit uncomfortable, and I do apologize for that.
Yeah, but I think I apologized for the same thing too.
But the way that I had been expecting that to go was that we all had 5 goals, and we were all listing like what we wanted to do, and then we would see how our goals dovetailed with each other and how we could help each other. Because the way that the board is now structured is that I'm here for 1 year, someone's here for 2 years, and then everybody else is here for 3 years. So it doesn't really make sense to me to have the person who's here for 1 year be working on a long-term 3-year goal, or at least be strapped into that. So I thought by doing individual goals, we could maybe work a little differently. And then when it comes to something like the policies, which should be digital or might be digital, everybody could look at them on their own time individually. And then just like we did with the town-owned land, we could simply have an agenda item that says, okay, here's the policies. We've listed them in order of ones that we think we should look at. And then if someone else has them listed, we can say, okay, here's what it is. Do we want to move on it? You know, just kind of quick discussion on it. It wouldn't take up the whole night, but it would,
With this board?
well, maybe, but it would allow everybody individually to look and then come together and say, I think this is a problem. And then maybe 2 or 3 other people say, yeah, I had that on my list too.
Yeah, and to clarify on this policy, the only thing I changed was the things that were irrelevant to Lakeville.
Right.
Like it wasn't a change of
Right.
the policies or anything. It was just like, says sandwich, change to Lakeville, those type of things.
Yeah.
Select board. So that is what I would propose to submit to the rest of the members of the board to come up with a possible consensus. But how do I submit that?
So,
Because it,
want me to jump in?
it's my opinion at that point, right?
So I think there's, thank you. So I think there's a couple of different ways to approach it. And, you know, Tracy and Bob are gonna look at me and be like, yeah, thanks. So I think one of the things you can do is, if they're all in a repository, like, have administration generate a listing, like, what are the oldest ones? What, from oldest to newest, right? And start tackling them that way. I don't see, you know, if there is a policy you would like to introduce because you think you need to consider it, well, you can actually circulate it to the board, like, it can be in a packet for consideration as long as there's no discussion beforehand and the first time that you discuss it is at the meeting, right? As long as it's equally accessible to members of the public when you, and I don't know if you post the packet.
We do.
You're right, so if you post the packet and it's in there, then that, it's a weird sort of quirk about it, but a court case said you can do it that way, which seems a little.
So it would just be like any other agenda item except you
Right,
can't discuss
exactly.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So in terms of that, that's good to know. But in terms of the goals and all that stuff, I don't know. I'd like to set another one just to maybe revisit it in a different format. And then where we are having trouble with this does the same principle apply where everybody could review them individually and then come together as a board?
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, that's why I wanted it back on. I just wanted to talk to that about it.
I was looking for your paper that you had submitted, because you've done a really nice job on.
I put a lot of work into it. I was real frustrated.
Yeah,
I had
because
good goals.
you had, very specific.
But yeah, that's all I have on it.
All right, so I want to keep this alive. So policies, I think, are something that, we could have a regular agenda item, where we do review 2 policies or 3 policies or whatever it is, and then make a determination.
So do you want the policies?
So I'm just going to submit and.
You're just gonna submit to me?
I'll submit to you
Submit to me,
and then
it will circulate.
if the
Okay.
chair puts it on the agenda, then we will.
Is that okay?
And then we will talk about it on the meeting.
I mean, my whole thing about saying policies was basically I was gonna organize it, make sure everyone had a digital and a hard written copy, and then say, these are the ones that, it's been my experience over the last 6 years, we've used the most. These are the ones we really haven't used at all. These are the ones that don't even apply unless it's a weather day,
All right.
So
So you would present that to the board, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
Good.
That works.
At a meeting.
Yep. And, how you doing on your website and stuff?
Not great.
Oh, okay. I haven't really done much on mine either. And,
can we move along?
yep, next. Okay, I put this next one on, revisit discussion on reappointment dates. Now is the time that we typically, reappoint all of those, appointees to those boards, committees, and commissions for the annual, appointment. I brought out previously about trying to align that with our election in April. So my question to you, as Tracy is preparing this list for our next meeting on the 22nd, do we want to have the term end at April 30th with the new term to begin May 1st for our appointed positions?
As opposed to,
Can you tell me the advantages that you're?
Well, one of the things that, had come to mind was that it would be all at once with the appointment cards going to the town clerk. Excuse me. So that everybody gets appointed at the same time, so to speak. The other thing is if there's goal setting, to be done, they have the same time frame that the rest of us do to try to execute some improvements. And I know that there was a third thing. I just can't think of it right now.
And the minuses for that would be, it's a glut of work and a lot of change all at once. But are there any other things that we're doing that it would halt operations for, or it would cause budgetary issues?
It was I don't think it was budgetary. I think we talked about that. Didn't have anything to do with the budget.
Do we know why it is when it
Nope.
is? Just
Nope.
is what it is?
It just is.
Appointments?
So, do you normally go July 1 to June 30? I mean, most
on
places.
some,
July 31st. is
So,
we have various, like, say for the election workers, they're August 15th by statute. Animal control, veteran service officers, their statute, April 30th.
Right, and so in some instances, right, there are gonna be specific statutes, say they have to be certain
Exactly. The
dates.
herring fishery committee is September 30th. The bulk of our appointments expire, July 31st. The only issue would be some of them are staggered multi-years. So I'm not sure how we would fix that. Like the ones that expire like July 31st, 24th, we could change to April. So we basically would have 3 years where some are going to be April 31st and some are going to be July 31st. Unless we do, I don't know how we do the multi-year. We'll have to revote the multi-years.
So I'll just say that I often get asked, give me a list of all the people we have to appoint and when we have to appoint them are, and there is no such list. Precisely because of the reasons that Tracy mentioned. There's different statutes apply to certain positions. It's not I wouldn't say it's the rule. I think there's probably more the exceptions. But there isn't sort of one size fits all for all appointments, in terms of the time period.
Right, and I don't think that was the intention. Reorganization was the other thing.
To
reorganize the boards.
That needs to be done
Because
every year.
We, as elected, we reorged at the first meeting after following the election, whereas, the appointed boards, we don't, we appoint them and then it just.
So typically, if you want your boards that you appoint to reorganize on an annual basis, then that is usually contained in like a board or committee handbook. It's adopted by a selectman policy type of thing.
Right.
Because
So
there's not
we'll just
anything
leave
under the
we're just
state
gonna leave-
statute that
right.
requires
So let's
that.
just leave it for now, because I don't wanna make a,
I
we can
do
bring
like,
it back.
I do like making sure it's in the handbook though, that each board reorgs after appointment, whatever appointment date that is. If it's a yearly appointment, I think that's something we should.
I think that's a policy.
It is.
Well, there's
I
a
thought-
policy because that policy says the board will reorg after the annual meeting. Well, we've had a few cases where, again, this isn't my opinion, it's factual data that we've had to reorganize throughout the year. So that policy needs to be amended to say, this is what's happened. It could possibly be more than just after the annual meeting.
No, but I think the intent is to make sure it happens at least once
least
a year.
annually.
Yeah, at the annual meeting. So I don't think it's meant to be all encompassing as to whatever time the board would need to reorg.
Depends on how heated your politics are. Someone could contest the chair being changed after a mid-year election because someone dropped out or someone resigned or whatever. So that's why I would bring it up, because we've had to do that.
Has Lillian weighed in on this?
Hmm?
Has the town clerk weighed in on this?
I'm not.
I think we did talk to her, Tracy, didn't we? And there wasn't any,
Yeah.
I don't think Lil had any
I don't know.
concern. I think I mentioned something to her and I didn't seem that there was any concern, but you know what? Let's just put it to, to rest now. We'll just keep it normal.
Okay.
So those terms the appointment terms will just be as normal, Tracy, okay?
Okay.
And I'll do some more research on it. Update on open space plan. I know, you sent
Planning
us-
clerk is working on the edits.
Okay. Do we have a time frame? Because this has been 3 years.
Hopefully within the next several weeks.
Okay, can we hope?
Were the edits significant? I was under the impression that these edits were minor in nature.
It depends who you talk to.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
they may have been minor in nature, but they were many minor edits and the, the objective spreadsheet is still being worked on.
So is this a case of, it's better to be done than to be perfect, because at this point, we're 3 years late on this, and it's preventing us from going for grants.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will stress that it needs to be
September
done by
1st.
the end of the week, end of the month,
Thank you.
end of
Yeah.
July.
Well, that's even better.
Thank you.
All right, end of July. Okay, so we need to revisit the appointment, expiration date for Brian Anderson.
I must have done it wrong, because I think I
I
voted
know.
this one.
I remember us going back and forth because, you know, we were given the option and we went one way.
I went one way.
Okay, so,
Chose wrong.
so
I
we
might have
need
been
to-
yelling at the phone at home.
So they're staggered, so we just need to make sure that we make it a little, I guess, more flowing for us select boards at 9 o'clock at night when we have to make these votes, but, so we need to vote to have it expired in 2026, July 31st, 2026. So,
I make a motion to amend Brian Anderson's expiration date on Conservation Commission from July 31st, 2025 to July 31st, 2026.
Seconded with apologies.
apologies accepted. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, roll.
Baby and I,
Donahue, aye.
Carboni, aye.
Candida, aye.
let me make sure Mr. Anderson knows.
Yes.
I haven't sent his appointment sheet out yet. I was holding it.
Okay, so he can go, yeah, and there's gonna be quite a few things in here for signature, which we'll just have to, I'll come in tomorrow and sign. If everybody else can make an appointment to sign off, whatever. July 22nd, 5:30. See you at the pool hall. There is some correspondence I do want to bring to the attention, if I may. We received an email from one of our, Community Preservation Committee members, because we're going to be doing the annual reappointments at the next meeting. We received an email from Barbara Standish, who was an appointed, at-large person. This email is to inform the Community Preservation Committee and the Select Board that I will not be seeking reappointment to my position on the Community Preservation Committee, which expires on July 31st. The opportunity to be part of a new committee working alongside very dedicated individuals has been rewarding, and one that will not be soon forgotten. I thank the Select Board for appointing me, and I wish the committee continued success. So, thank you, Barbara Standish, for the time that you did spend on the community preservation. So we will have to appoint another member at large. So,
I'm sad to see her go.
I am too, very
Madam
much.
Chair, should I, put out a public notice asking for letters of interest?
Yes, please.
We have 2 openings now, so we see that.
Yes, well, Parks appointment. So the Parks will have to do an appointment,
Okay,
and this is a community at large.
got it.
Okay, so executive session. I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session pursuant to general law, chapter 30A, section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and the chair so does declare, and not to return into open session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, roll call vote, please.
Baby and I.
Donahue, aye.
Carboni, aye.
Candida, aye.
All right, we are out of open session at 9:07.